Have yourself a great day, whatever you get up to. I will speak to you real soon. And now it's over to Greg Hughes.
When?
What do you mean when?
When will you speak to people?
That is a mystery.
Yet to be decided.
It is.
But
Keep an eye on social, you'll find out.
All right, Kev, thanks very much. Cheers, get to bed now.
Yep.
It is the 9 till noon show. Let's get a news update and we'll say good morning now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Security at Leinster House is to be reviewed in the wake of the aggressive protest outside the Dáil yesterday. 13 arrests were made as a result of the demonstrations. Some TDs and senators required Garda escorts to leave the building, while politicians and staff were verbally abused. Public Expenditure Minister Paschal Donohoe was appalled by the scenes.
It was not a protest against individual politicians or a protest against political parties or even a government. It was a protest against the concept, I believe, of representative politics, as we know, within our country.
A Donegal deputy says the local government bill is a missed opportunity to give county councils the overhaul and review they urgently need. Deputy Thomas Pringle says the legislation should have been the chance to foster true local empowerment, not just a symbolic gesture. Speaking in the Dáil, Deputy Pringle says there doesn't appear to be a desire from councillors to change the current format.
The councillors are quite happy to participate in that system and go along with it. And you have the fiasco of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and independent Fianna Fáil, as they were at one time, all pretending that they govern Donegal County Council, when actually they don't. The county manager governs it. But the councillors are quite happy to go along with it, make it look like that they're in control, appoint a mayor every year, and it looks like that they're doing the business when they have no say whatsoever.
Gardaí in Donegal have issued a stark warning to parents and young people in the county of the dangers of money and parcel muling. Money mules allow fraudsters to use their bank accounts to receive monies obtained via fraud, while package mules work for fraudsters by accepting packages on their behalf and sending or delivering them to designated persons or addresses. Gardaí are warning people that being a mule is a criminal offence, carrying a sentence of up to 14 years in prison. They are pleading with people to not allow themselves to be used as a money mule or a package mule. It's been suggested that the former Reynolds music shop close to the local Link bus stop in Letterkenny could be acquired for use as a temporary bus station pending the development of the town's transport hub off the Pierce Road. Councillor Jerry McMonigal says at the very least a new bus shelter with seating needs to be provided. The National Transport Authority has indicated it is prepared to provide funding for a new shelter, and council officials are looking at the options. Councillor McMonigal says the potential of the Reynolds site should be explored.
A resident has said to me, why would you not think about taking over the vacant Reynolds music shop and using that as a bus station building where you would have seating and toilet facilities for those people waiting for the bus services? And I think that's a good idea. I think it's thinking outside the box. What we need to do is ensure that if that doesn't happen, that there is proper bus shelters with seating that enable, especially the elderly people, that they have a comfortable seat while they're waiting for their bus.
Weather now largely dry this morning with just a few isolated showers. A little cooler today with highs of 14 to 16 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Only people from the 90s will know what that sound means. I can picture it now. Back when McDonald's started cracking free-range eggs across the entire menu and internet dial-up was the only way to get online. Those few minutes wait felt super fast, and it was known as the World Wide Web. Ah, the good old days. It's just one of the little changes McDonald's have been constantly making to the way we source and produce our food over the years. Find out more at mcdonalds.ie. McDonald's. Change a little, change a lot.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9, Thursday, September 21. How are you all keeping out there? Hope you're doing very well indeed. And we have another busy one for you. Another 3 hours of entertainment, information, and whatever you want to talk about as well. We want you involved in the conversation to raise your issues, comment on what we've got lined up for you. We'll be covering all the stories I think you might expect us to. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and text that number. And feel free, by the way, if you want to send a voice note to that number, 086 60 25,000. If you want to give us a call, it's 074 91 25,000, 91 25,000. And your emails come into us at comments@highlandradio.com. And you can watch the show live, as you can every single day, of course, on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. Good morning to you. If you've joined us there, you can watch on your big TV, your smart TV, your Fire Stick, or any of your devices. And on Facebook, it's Highland Hub or Highland Radio News and Sport, and loads of papers out, as it is a Thursday morning, of course. And we'll start with this morning's Tyrconnell Tribune. Micah scheme adding to people's distress. That was the message coming out loud and clear from the Micah meeting at the Rye Community Centre on Tuesday night. A big crowd had packed into the room long before the meeting began, and Lisa Hone, chairperson of the Donegal Micah Action Group, said the lack of political drive is simply unacceptable. One of the hot issues on the night is the snail's pace of progress by Donegal County Council in processing Micah redress payments amid claims that contractors have had to walk away from property not fully finished because not one red cent has been paid out so far, and nobody seems to have any answers. The lack of political will to solve the Micah nightmare for thousands of traumatised Donegal homeowners was hammered home in the public to the public reps at the information meeting in Rye. If the political will was there, this would have been done quickly. All the homeowners need to work together in every way to keep the pressure on, was just some of the commentary from Lisa Hone there. More on the front of and inside that paper today, of course. The Donegal News talks of an unprecedented demand at food bank facility. We covered this a few months ago, or variations of this story a couple of months ago. Things have not improved. In fact, they perhaps have worsened. Let's read on. With the cost of living crisis pushing up demand, Letterkenny Food Bank has been forced to reduce its handout frequency. The registered charity has warned of its concerns for this coming winter amid a 33% surge in the number of people it has supported in the last 6 months. Such has been the pressure on the Market Square-based charity. It's been left with no alternatives but to decrease the frequency of food to families reaching out to them once every 4 weeks because it does not have enough food to sustain a 3-week rotation. That's how bad it is. And the problem is too, food banks would have relied on people out doing their shop as well, of course, and picking up a few extra bits and dropping them off. But everyone's feeling the squeeze now. Everyone has saw the weekly shop or the bits and bobs go through the roof, or that's how it feels anyway. The Donegal Democrat, a West Donegal pensioner, has appeared in court charged with numerous alleged sexual offences. The accused man cannot be named to protect the identity of his alleged victims. Detective Garda Eugene Organ told Falcarra District Court that he arrested the man at 9 a.m. this morning at Main Street in Milford. When the charges were put to the accused, he made no reply. The man is charged with a number of alleged instances, including indecent assault and sexual assault. The Derry News this morning, their lead story, Our Patients Deserve Better. Strike action, wholly unprecedented in the health and social care sector, is taking place across the north, including Derry. Health and social care professionals from Unison, Unite, NIPSA, the GMB, Royal College of Midwives, and on it goes and on it goes. They'll be on the picket line today and Friday. Mary Little, Unison's Foyle Joint Branch Secretary for Health, said her union is striking for better pay there. On to the nationals now. We'll start with the Irish Daily Mail for a change. And any of you on social media or having watched the news will have seen the scenes outside the Dáil yesterday. About 200 to 300 people. It was a well-organised protest. Well publicised across various social media platforms, Telegram, X, Twitter, and Facebook, and so on and so forth, to call people to the Dáil to welcome home. If you wouldn't quite put it like that, but you know what I mean, to welcome back TDs and senators returning after their summer recess. But it got boisterous. It got a wee bit violent too. There was pushing and shoving, some awful things being said and shouted, and there were gallows there with various effigies of elected public representatives, effectively saying, you know, hang them. Michael Healy-Rae, who we'll speak to a little later on in the programme, he was being escorted by guards. He was jostled and insulted. His main crime, because he would be a bit of a, I suppose, someone that's normally quite protest friendly, let me put it like that, but I believe he's housing Ukrainian refugees, and that was enough for him to be subjected to that abuse. 13 people in total were arrested. When you watch on, I think it's done whatever the cause is or whatever the campaign is, and it wasn't really quite clear to me yesterday what it was about, really. There was a lot of shouting and stuff. I don't know what it was. It was anger towards maybe the elected representatives, but it wasn't just they that were subject to abuse. Anyone going into the Dáil was, but it wasn't really articulated very well from what I could see what the message was. You know, what is the campaign? What do they want? What needs changing? And also, I think it's expedited any argument for hate speech because of some of the stuff that was being said. We are going to see now more restrictions in terms of protests outside Dáil. So the way it was conducted, I think, has been incredibly counterintuitive. And what you'll see now, the next protest that's called, you might not even get a fraction of those, the amount of people there because of the perceived or reality of the toxicity of the situation. Did you watch on? What do you think? 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. As I say, Michael Healy-Rae will be on the show a little later on to talk of his experience. But reading on the article here, independent Kerry TD Michael Healy-Rae was jostled and jeered by protesters yesterday as the Dáil returned after the summer recess, with politicians from across the spectrum condemning the protest outside the Oireachtas. Later in the day, Gardaí had to form a barricade to allow a convoy of politicians to leave in their cars from the Merrion Street entrance. Around 200 protesters gathered outside as politicians returned from the summer recess. Gardaí confirmed 13 arrests were made during a day of protest that saw demonstrators block entrances and display mock gallows. Mr. Healy-Rae said, "I come to Dublin to represent the good people of the country. Nothing will ever deter me from doing my job." He added, "I've no issue with protesting, never have, never will. But you can see the videos circulating and judge for yourself if that behaviour and use of language is acceptable." And as I say, there was, I mean, we're not made of sugar either, but I mean, there was some really, really strong stuff. The gallows too. It's just not a good look. But anyway, what do you think out there? 086 60 25,000. An issue obviously that's come up on this show on numerous occasions is e-cigarettes. There's an update on it in the Irish Independent, so I thought I'd bring it to you. Disposable vapes will be banned as part of a further crackdown on e-cigarettes, including curbs on flavours and advertising. If you go into a shop, you'll see often there's a screen behind the counter and it's all very fancy advertising, all really sexy. The products all look really sexy, bubblegum flavour, all different types of flavours. Naturally, that's not going to, it does nothing for me. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to go, oh, right, I need one of them in my life. But if you're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, though they may not be targeted at that cohort. It's certainly the cohort that might be attracted to such advertising. It's interesting, a lot of the screens are actually shaped like the same dimensions as a phone screen, which I think is quite interesting. They kind of look like TikTok ads. It's clever marketing, but unfortunately it's young people that's getting addicted to these products. The government earlier this year moved to ban the sale of vapes to children, and Health Minister Stephen Donnelly has now said he wants to ban single-use e-cigs. Earlier this week, Fianna Fáil TD Paul McAuliffe called for disposable vapes to be banned altogether by government due to the environmental impact. Mr. Donnelly said he is now planning a second piece of legislation to further clamp down on vapes, which would curb flavours and where they're advertised in shops. I fully support this policy, Mr. Donnelly told the Irish Independent. But are any of you out there now concerned? And I know we can't be with our children all the time, and some of us, might find that our young people are addicted to these things now. And some of them have really quite high nicotine levels. If they become hard to get, like, what are you going to do? You're going to go into a vape shop and get a non-disposable, reusable vape for them? Are you going to hope they go cold turkey? Like, it does create a problem, because if these products aren't there's a lot of people that actually really are quite dependent on them. Young people, adults can, plough their own path and find their own way. But I wonder, are any of you out there concerned as to what you will do with your child's nicotine addiction if they've developed one? And lots and lots of young people are using them. If they aren't freely available in these shops, you either have to buy them for them or come up with an alternative, nicotine patches. Like, what are we going to do? There is going to be hundreds of thousands of young people who are going to have a dependency on nicotine. Well, tens of thousands, let's be more conservative. Tens of thousands of young people with a nicotine dependency. And what are we going to do about that? It's a really strong addiction. The Irish Times tells us that up to 30 care homes could face criminal investigations depending on the results of a Garda inquiry into the death of a woman in a residential home during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2021. Garda are examining the care received by the woman in a County Cork home in the period leading up to her death, which occurred during one of the worst periods of the pandemic. Sources have confirmed to this paper the case is being investigated as potential gross negligence manslaughter. The care home in question saw a large number of fatalities in the first 18 months of the pandemic, which began in early 2020. The Irish Times understands the investigation has been ongoing for a significant period of time and that a large number of interviews have taken place, including with relatives and staff. A file on the case is due to go to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution very shortly, and it'll make a final decision on what, if any, charges are brought, and there might be a few follow-on cases there, no doubt, if that does come to pass. The Farmers' Journal's out today. Weanlings up €140 a head. Weanling prices have reached a new high this week, with Irish Farmers' Journal Martbids data showing a €140 a head rise in the bull prices compared to the last year. Mart managers nationwide report a significant lift in demand among store producers, finishers and weaning exporters. And there's also some images from the ploughing championships. It's a wet, muddy mess. But people in the picture look like they're having fun. There was a survey of taxpayers about whether or not they want to see the licence fee discontinued. Now, I don't know how the question was phrased, and we'll tease it as we go through this. The bottom line is that if they get rid of this licence fee, they are introducing something else. There's not going to be a system whereby they get rid of the licence fee and there's no public contribution to public service broadcasting in inverted commas. So whether people like this licence fee or not, if it's going to be replaced by something, and that is a fact. And you won't get a political party that will propose otherwise, certainly not one of the mainstream parties. So people should realise that if they get rid of this, they're getting something else. Over 60% of people want the TV licence fee to be scrapped, according to a new pre-budget survey. It found that more than 6 in 10 want the €160 charge axed, while 1 in 5 claim there's no need for public service broadcasting. 3 in 4 would not support a move to appoint revenue as collectors of the TV licence. Well, you see, that's the alternative. The findings come from the Taxback Taxpayer Pre-Budget 2024 survey that polled 2,000 taxpayers nationwide. Okay, let us go to the Sun now. You heard yesterday Sinn Féin's finance spokesperson Pearse Doherty on this programme calling for mortgage interest relief, a scheme for homeowners. Well, ministers last night shot down Sinn Féin's call for such a scheme. Meanwhile, Taoiseach Leo Varadkar, Tánaiste Micheál Martin and Green Party leader Eamon Ryan ditched the Dáil on its first day back after summer to attend a UN summit in New York. Lovely little impact on the environment that trip was, all three of them over in New York. I wonder, did they all fly in the same plane? The government leaders' absence left Fine Gael's Simon Coveney to defend the coalition as they came under pressure over the housing crisis and the cost of living. Sinn Féin last night tabled a motion in the Dáil calling for the introduction of time-limited mortgage interest relief schemes to help hard-pressed families. And what we see just in terms of international travel and what have you, you know, when obviously I think most of us accept we have a problem, we have to do something. But if you, like, there's always a reason why the powers that be or rich people can do stuff like fly around on jets. Because they, well, we have to fly. How else are we going to get to America to attend this important UN conference? We have to fly in a jet. So, you know, that's the way it is. But we could all do that. Like, you know, I want to go on holiday. Well, how am I going to go on holiday? I have to fly in a jet, don't we? So whilst the leaders and the rich continue to be able to justify doing stuff like that, but at the same time telling us maybe we shouldn't, now, we're all in the same boat. They're no different to us. There's always an excuse as to do it. I would love to cycle to work, but I can't. I have to take a car because I live too far away from it. You know what I mean? They need to go to America. They can't paddle there. They have to fly. You know, we're all in the same boat here. But they get away with it more than we might. And a record-breaking welly chuck at the Ploughing Championships. Almost 1,000 revellers, as they're described here, put their best foot forward yesterday as they set a new welly throwing record at the National Ploughing Championships. In the muddied field of County Laois, 995 participants eclipsed the efforts of the 792 people who set the previous best in England in 2018. Why don't we all get together? We'll all meet in the town park in Letterkenny or somewhere and bring a welly with us. We can get 1,000 of us together. We'll get into the Guinness Book of World Records. 995 is not a big deal. We can break that, can't we? Right, okay. Everyone paid a fiver. You'd create $5,000 for charity. Anyway, that is a look through the papers today. We've got loads of people to talk to, loads of people to interview. Just to remind you that if you want to send in a message to us, WhatsApp or text 086 60 25,000, and feel free to set the ball rolling on voice messages as well if you want that played out. And you can call us too on 07491 25,000.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
When you start to search for a home to call your own, it's good to know that there are many ways in. Whether you're looking to buy or rent, a number of supports are now available. Different initiatives help in different ways. Some target first-time buyers or fresh starters. Some make buying or renting more affordable. Others can help you turn an old building into a new home. To find out more about the supports available, visit gov.ie/doors open, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Milford Tiles Wood Flooring and Bathware, Milford Retail Park. New wood flooring just arrived. 8 mil AC laminate, $9.99 a square yard. 10 mil, $12.50 a square yard. 12 mil, $14.99 a square yard. Beautiful 8 mil AC4 gloss laminate, $16.99 a square yard. All in stock, fitters available. Milford Tiles Wood Flooring and Bathware, 083 091 0707.
Shrink your bill with Double Savers at Dunnes Stores. Save in the aisle with the ingredients for 5 meals for less than €25. That's everything you need for a beef stir fry, fish finger wraps, chicken casserole, vegetable penne pasta and salmon teriyaki. All for €24.68 when you save with the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Find all the recipes on our website. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Foy & Company's biggest ever furniture sale is now on, with up to 50% off in our Letterkenny and Ballybuffet stores. Huge reductions on all our dining room sets, beds and mattresses, also on sofas, lamps, rugs and much more. Now is the time to reserve and order to ensure delivery in time for Christmas. You can also shop our sale online at foys.ie. Finance is available. Inquire in store at Foy & Company, Letterkenny and Ballybuffet.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
OK, the time, 22, just turned 23 minutes past 9. Martina Porter is Quality and Patient Safety Manager with Letterkenny University Hospital. Good morning to you, Martina.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you very much for joining us. Right, Martina, is yours a new post or is it a new sort of initiative we're talking about, or perhaps both?
Well, no, my role isn't a new. I'm new in the role, fairly new
Understood.
in the role, but it's not a new role as such. But so it's but this is kind of us looking at World Patient Safety Day, which is a global initiative. So we wanted to do something locally to mark World Patient Safety Day from a quality and patient safety perspective. So what we wanted to do here was the theme this year for World Patient Safety Day was empowering and engaging patients to improve patient safety, and I suppose elevating the voice of patients. And this is something that we've been looking at since, we've implemented a few different initiatives since I've come into post. We have introduced patient feedback forms where patients can fill out a questionnaire and make suggestions for service improvement. And we're setting up a patient and family experience group as well. So it's in keeping with the themes of our national patient safety strategy. But what we wanted to do was introduce something that brings that information to the bedside for the patients. So to empower and engage patients need, I suppose, to have the knowledge and, I suppose, information to be able to do that. So what we decided to do was design a bedside poster. To look at what information we would put on that poster, we did like an analysis of all of our most commonly reported maybe patient safety incidents and look at themes and what the causes were. And on this poster is, top tips for patients on what they can do and how they can engage with us to improve safety. So there's information there in relation to medication safety, falls prevention, protecting personal property and items, advice on quitting smoking, and there's QR codes there as well that takes, patients out to other websites where they can get more information if they wish to avail of that. So we have updated our patient information booklet as well, and we have hard copies that we can give out as well to patients, but there's a QR code there as well. It's available online if people would prefer to access it online, and there's a wealth of information now that's going to be available right there at the bedside for people. But I suppose more importantly, to build on the patient engagement piece, and as part of designing this, we went to the Patient for Patient Safety Ireland group, which is a national network of people that are really focused as patients on patient safety. So they were instrumental in helping us put this poster together for it to be user friendly and contain the appropriate information.
And how
so they've been heavily involved.
Yeah, and Martina, how do you engage patients who may be older or perhaps who can't read very well or feel so sick and down that they don't want to engage? How do you make sure that they're polled as well?
Engagement is entirely optional here, and if patients feel they don't want to engage, there's absolutely no obligation on anyone whatsoever.
No, but how do you include? I understand that, Martina, people have a choice. How do you include everybody?
Well, I suppose it's open to patients and families. So what we're saying is patient and families. So a patient may themselves decide they don't want to, but they may want a family member to engage on their behalf, and that's absolutely fine as well. And on our forms, it is, if it's a patient that completes it or if it's a family member, so that we know if it's a patient or if it's a family member that's providing us with the information, and it's all accepted. And it's a patient and family experience user group as well. So it's very inclusive of patients and their families.
So if there's a trend, if there's a trend, Martina, how is that acted on? So say, for instance, something pops up 2 or 3. I don't want to give examples because I don't really know any that might fit what we're talking of. But say there's a trend of a number of patients highlight the same thing. How do you act on that? So
we have a few different ways of feeding back. And I suppose it's really important because it's on this poster as well where we're inviting feedback from people. So what we do is we go around and empty the suggestion boxes and we analyse the feedback, and we feedback A to the department and the staff so that they can action, and B, I feedback in my report, I report it back into the various hospital committees. So say, for example, if a patient was to give feedback about, and I'm just using this as an example, say about food or snacks or, availability or quality or whatever, then I would feed that back into the appropriate committees, as well for decision and action. But it goes back to the departments and the teams as well. So we do a lot of analysis and we do a lot of reporting back, and, then it's quality improvements then and deciding what we're going to do to improve on that and build on that moving forward. But I think it's very important to say, as part of this poster as well, there is an invitation on there for patients if they wish to feedback by completing out a form, or equally there is a QR code that'll take them to the Your Service, Your Say, where that's where they can do that online if they wish to leave a comment or feedback online, and equally an invitation if people wish to join our patient and family experience group, that they can do that as well and be part of that group as well, that, where where we can all work together collaboratively, you know,
and is it
to drive service improvement.
Is it ongoing? In other words, you don't collate this information for 2 or 3 months and then act on it, or perhaps you do.
This is something that I do monthly.
Yeah.
And then I trend analysis from month to month. So, you know, it's quite comprehensive.
Mm-hmm. And has it been going long enough where you can give us an example of something that was flagged and then acted on and improved on?
Well, I can't get into specific examples, I suppose, at the minute, because, I mean, it's going off into another piece of work that we're doing here at the moment. But I suppose it's important to say that we get the feedback that we can act on. And there has been a huge amount of, there's been a huge amount of actions, and it is something that we are actively engaged with. When we get our patient and family experience user group up and running, we hope that it'll even gather more momentum, in that there'll be direct involvement there, and then feeding back through the group as well to improve services as well.
Right, and I'm just trying to phrase this in a way, Martina, that without getting into stuff, but just to I mean, there are certain issues with the hospital that we talk about here extensively in terms of, you know, staffing and things like. There's some things surveys like this can't affect, and then there are other things that they can. So in other words, presumably, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is patient engagement to improve experiences where it's possible to do so with minor changes. I mean, obviously it's not separate to and it's part of, but this is not part of the sort of necessarily the big issues that people would be familiar with. This is the inpatient experiences that can be tailored for on a sort of ongoing basis.
Exactly. And I suppose, Greg, this is sowing the seeds. Like, this is in its infancy. We're really just getting this off the ground. We started the questionnaire in January. We're getting some feedback, but it's gathering that momentum. We're hoping with this poster now, patients will feel more able to engage as well, and especially when we get this group up and running. And we have more projects that's going to be more patient and family centred as well, and patient and family focused, where it's going to be really, you know, I suppose service improvements will be driven with that collaboration in mind, you know. Mm-hmm. So I suppose we have a few different things, a few different strands through which we're going to try and achieve this. Okay. You know, and I suppose the poster is a kind of first step to, you know, gathering that momentum, you know. So we have the questionnaires, you know, and they're being filled out, but, you know, it's not a consistent approach at the moment. There's not a consistency at the moment, because people don't often know they're there, mm-hmm. or people don't know where to. Information will be there at the bedside now, so people will know that the poster's there, and there's the suggestion box if you wish to do that.
And Martina, is this in wards and rooms? It's not in the ED, for an example. This is specifically for people.
This is going to be everywhere throughout the hospital.
Okay, right. All right, okay. Right, Martina, thank you very much. People going in can keep an eye out for those. I do appreciate your time this morning. Martina Porter there, Quality and Patient Safety Manager at Letterkenny University Hospital.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
The Queen of Country and Irish, Margot, comes back to Donegal for one night only. Join Margot live in concert on Wednesday, the 4th of October in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, with special guests David James and Shuni Cramsey. This is a show not to be missed. That's Margot live at the Mount Errigal, October 4th. Tickets available from hotel reception or online at eventbrite.ie.
Remembering Joe Dolan, the 15th anniversary tour, coming to the Millennium Forum in Derry on Sunday the 8th of October, featuring members of the Dolan family and members of the Joe Dolan Band. Book now at millenniumforum.co.uk or call 04871 264455.
Starting to think about what's next? Then don't miss Ulster University's Open Days this September. Come along to our Derry, Londonderry, Coleraine and Belfast campuses to learn about our courses and discover where a degree from Ulster could take you. Discover why Ulster University is ranked number 1 in the UK for job prospects by student crowd. Register now at ulster.ac.uk/opendays.
The effects of personal debt problems often go beyond just financial. What we don't want to face can cause us to unravel. Stress eats at you, relationships unwind. It can feel like life's falling apart, but support is available. Get back on track with the Insolvency Service of Ireland, an independent organisation that helps untangle personal debt problems. See backontrack.ie. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
This weekend, Voices Centre in Carrigart celebrate a monumental milestone, a century in business. All weekend will be filled with festivities at the store. On Friday, don't miss John Breslin broadcasting his show live from Carrigart. Voices will have an abundance of delectable nibbles, streaming coffee, sumptuous ice cream, and an exciting spin the wheel game. So come on down and say hello this Friday from 12 noon as we celebrate 100 remarkable years of Voices Centre in Carrigart.
Okay, I've chatted to people over the summer, and some people thought new laws were in place as it relates to quad bikes, and others weren't aware that they were to change at all. But the reality is that there are new and updated quad bike laws coming into effect on the 20th of November, so effectively 2 months from today. Pat Griffin is Senior Inspector with the Health and Safety Authority. I suppose, Pat, we'll begin with what changes are taking place in relation to quad bike usage?
Good morning, Greg, and I'm down here at the Ploughing Championships for the third day, and we're demonstrating these quad bikes and risks around tractors and quad bikes here at the championships. The regulations, as you say, come into effect on the 20th of November, and they're quite simple. It'll require anyone operating a quad bike that's in any sector, whether it's in construction, farming, quarrying, forestry, wherever the quad bike is used, the operator must have training and they must wear a helmet. So they're the two simple requirements, and we're glad to see that there is starting to be an uptake in the training, and we really encourage people to comply with these regulations.
Is it certified training? So say, for instance, I want to, if I had a quad and I want to use it legally on the 20th of November, how do I complete this training?
You must get the training from a registered training provider, so it must be certified training. It can't be just a father teaching the son or vice versa. It has to be a registered training provider, and it must be certified training. And there's lots of trainers around the country. Trainers are registered with QQI, Lantra, City and Guilds, and we would encourage farmers to go out and find the trainer in your locality and get that training done. And
is it a test? In other words, is it just a run through of health and safety?
Well, the training is for an experienced rider, and there's many experienced people out there on quads. It'll be a one-day training period. For an inexperienced person, it'll be 2 days, and there won't be 2 consecutive days. It'll be 2 days separated by some time where the operator has some time to practice. At the end of either training courses, there will be an assessment. There's a very short, simple written assessment, and then there's a practical assessment where the trainer will assess the competence of the operator to fulfill certain tasks in the training. So it is practical, and it's an assessment done by the trainer. And if he feels you're competent and have been trained properly, he will give you the certificate.
I presume, I could be wrong, but I presume when we talk about training being obligatory and the wearing of a helmet being obligatory, we're talking about on public roads.
No, it's anywhere. So whether you're operating the tractor or the quad bike on your farm, whether it's been operated in a quarry, on a construction site, in a factory, on a forestry, it's not just on the public road. And I think some people have got that impression. Though this training is wherever you operate your quad bike. And
so
for
effectively,
farmers,
if you own a quad bike, you're going to have training and a helmet.
Absolutely. And the importance of the helmet can't be overemphasized. There has been 10 fatalities in the last 10 years from quad bikes. And when you think of the number of quad bikes in the country, that's a very, very high number. It actually makes the quad bike the most dangerous piece of equipment that a farmer can use. They're very useful pieces of equipment, and they're very, very simple to operate, but they're also very, very simple to overturn and get a serious injury or fatality from if you're not trained properly on how to use them.
So I presume An Garda Síochána will enforce on the public highways as they do. How will these measures be enforced on private property?
Well, the HSA inspectors will go and do inspections of whatever sector it is, whether it's in construction or farming. If the inspector goes in and he finds a quad bike at the place of work, then he will ask the person who's operating the quad bike for the training certificate. And that's how it will be enforced. If they don't have training, if they don't have a training certificate, we will take action. The other element is we will ask them where their helmet is, and if they don't have a helmet, we will prohibit the use of the quad bike. But, you know, it absolutely makes sense that people wear a helmet. I mean, who these days would actually drive a car without a seatbelt? People should not be operating a quad bike now without a helmet. The vast majority of fatalities and serious life-changing injuries from a quad bike overturn are head injuries. And many of the deaths that have been caused by quad bikes would have been prevented if people were wearing their helmet.
Yeah, and it's not hard to see how that will happen. It's a heavy vehicle, but they are easy to overturn, and just with the nature of them, when you come off them, you're generally not too far away from the quad when that happens, and it can easily go over on top of you or whatever it might be, or you could be thrown from it and smack your head off a rock or something. Either way, but it's not hard to see the argument for it. Is it a bit? Do you think it's a bit over the top, though? Do you think it's too far-reaching, going on people's private property, and insisting that they?
No, not at all. As we all know, we can't turn back the clock, and I mean, there are people today that have suffered, family members that have suffered, they've had fatalities and they've had serious life-changing injuries, and our sympathies go out to these families. But you can't turn back the clock. And all these families would turn back the clock. They would, do things differently. They would certainly insist on helmets and training, and I'm sure they would agree with this approach.
All right.
So,
two more questions, then, if you don't mind, Pat.
Yeah.
From what age can you get this? From what age can you get this training?
Yeah, well, all the quad manufacturers will specify the age on the quad. And they all specify you must be 16 years and over to operate a quad bike.
So really what we're saying here, Pat, effectively, going forward, it's illegal for anyone under the age of 16, regardless of the size of the quad, to be on a quad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In a work environment. This is for workplace legislation. So if a person is operating a quad for work, then you must have training, and you must be a person of over 16. There are other quad bikes that are not as big and not as strong, that are used for recreation. They're not within these regulations. They're for recreation.
How long does the cert last for?
It's a lifetime cert. It's only once-off training. Once you do this training, you're trained and you're good to go for life. And that is the good part. I mean, once you know this training and learn how to do active riding on a quad bike, and that's the critical thing, that people practice active riding. You'll notice that most quad bikes have a very, very big seat. Some people think that's for carrying passengers. It's not. It's actually for moving your body weight to keep the stability of the quad. So if you're going up a steep hill, you slide your body forward, and actually you could even have to lean over the handlebars going up a slope. And going down the slope, you have to place your body weight at the very back of the seat to keep stability, and moving left and right when you're taking corners. So that seat is that size to practice active riding. So, that's what you learn in this training. And you also learn how to maintain it and make sure that the tyre pressure is correct.
And just one thing, Pat, how are we differentiating, other than where it's being operated, just to be clear, because there could be some confusion, how are we differentiating between a work quad, in inverted commas, and a recreational quad?
If someone is doing work with their quad, that's work activity.
Okay.
And we will enforce it then. That's a simple rule.
Okay. Right, okay. It comes into effect from November 20th. Pat Griffin, Senior Inspector with the Health and Safety Authority, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks very much, Greg, for
Okay,
covering
take care. Bye-bye. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and text 086 60 25,000. A caller says the hospital is in crisis because of lack of staff, and this is the answer they come up with. What a waste of money. Let's make a better effort to put money into real services needed as opposed to those box-ticking exercises. Kind of addressed the overall problems and then the things that can be addressed sort of within that, and I think that's what that survey is about. But listen, if you're in the hospital, don't fill it out. That would be your view, I presume. As a staff member working in the hospital, I definitely see efforts to improve care for our patients. I commend Martina Porter on her efforts. Thank you very much indeed for that. Nice to get some positive feedback as well. Morning, Greg. Just heard you mention protests at the Dáil yesterday. I'm not a fan of protests, but there comes a time when enough is enough. And by that I mean when you struggle to put your children through college without any help from the government, when those children work hard at college and promise to pay you back when they get a job. Those children are now well-educated young people, but despite their hard work and reasonable good job, they can't and probably may never be able to afford a home. They can't get access to a GP because all practitioners are full and apparently not taking new patients. Their promise of paying their parents back has gone out the window as they're now struggling, just like we were to send them to college. This may sound like a rant, but this is what our great young Irish people are going through. This is why I think protests are never more needed, but keep them organised and peaceful. Protesting is an essential form of democracy. People have to protest. People should protest when they need to. That's not the issue here. The issue is the nature of the protest. I didn't see any young people at that protest yesterday, to be honest with you. Not that that matters, but those that are affected by this, like you say you are. And it's the gallows, it's the pushing, it's the language, it's the nature of the protest, not the protest itself, which we're discussing. And I would hope we never get to a point where anyone would come out and say there shouldn't be protests. Greg, these protests are just the beginning. Beginning of what, though? People are no longer angry. They're furious. Main issue being rampant, uncontrolled immigration, followed by cost of living and a complete breakdown in trust between the public and the political class. Seeing elected reps scooping massive amounts of money for housing immigrants while the rest of us get crucified with €1,200 a month rents for one-bed flats is sickening. Hate speech laws being brought in to protect politicians, not the immigrants. I understand where you're coming from. A lot of people may well feel the same. But why do people... Where is this when it comes to an election? I mean, the council elections are coming up. Will that view be reflected in those? Probably not. General election not too long thereafter will, up until now, people that stand opposed to migration and things like that often struggle to get a handful of votes. If you know what I'm saying. Right, okay, I have to take a very quick break. Then we're going to be speaking to the mother of a young girl who's a spina bifida patient.
Hi, Nathan Carter here, and I'm delighted to say I've just had 2 installations from Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, and I have to say their attention to detail is second to none. With their sleek design and craftsmanship, your dream kitchen is just a visit away. So why not head over to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms and let the magic begin.
Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, Donegal Town. More kitchens your way since 1996. Visit cherrymore.ie or call 97 25822 to book your free design appointment.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
How are you doing, Liam? Usual, is it? Seesaw? At Visa, we're proud to support small businesses in every community, like Murphy's of Dingle, makers of quality ice cream supplied by Kerry Dairy Farms. When you shop with an independent business, it multiplies to support your community. Where you shop matters. Visa.
Foyleside, at the centre of more for your euro, with great value gifts. So it's worth making the journey wherever you live. With convenient parking, late nights and all your favourite brands, you're better off shopping at Foyleside. See foyleside.co.uk.
Weanling prices soar. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Exporters light up autumn cattle trade as beef prices also lift. Decision on slurry spreading extension looming. Farmers fear major loss of rented land in 2024. Dairy exit schemes still up in the air. We answer your key questions on acres. Beat Ireland to sell Carlow site as dream of sugar revival dies. And don't miss our ploughing 2023 news and photos.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Now, parents have lost trust and faith amid a long-running national scandal regarding the care and treatment of their children. Co-founder of the Scoliosis Advocacy Network, Claire Cahill, has said her comments come after the publication by Children's Health Ireland of the internal and external reviews into spinal surgery for patients with spina bifida at Temple Street Children's Hospital in Dublin between 2019 and 2022. Sinead is the mother of Michaela, who is a spina bifida patient and who had an operation 5 years ago in Liverpool and joins us now. Hi Sinead, thank you for your time today.
Hi Greg, how are you?
I'm good. Now, you believe, do you not, that the scope of any review needs to be widened much greater? What's the background to those views?
I suppose the background is that we were aware from Michaela was about maybe 5-6 months old that she was going to need, further surgeries. They recommended that they would do it around 18 months, but by that stage Michaela was actually showing movement that they really hadn't expected her to have, and then her team were willing to wait till she was 4 and see how she was at that stage, and we were happy with that. But I suppose as time went on, Michaela went downhill quite fast. It came to a point when she was 7 that she was losing the power to walk. She was given a wheelchair, and while she could still walk, the distances she could do were just getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And her feet were becoming more clubbed, her kidneys were under pressure, and I knew she needed the surgery. Obviously, the country wasn't in a good shape at the time economically. Yeah. And long story short, the team that she'd been with since birth wouldn't do it. They said, you just have to accept that it's too risky. We were told the risk of paralysis with the surgery was 50-50, and that there was a huge risk, even greater than that of hydrocephalus.
So what did they suggest then, in the absence of them doing the operation? What would have been the treatment or the outcome for Michaela?
Get her used to the wheelchair were the exact words that I was told. Get her used to it. I was told by somebody, this is the will of God. And I didn't buy that. I got to know some other parents who had the same issue and needed the same surgery. And long story short, they were all told the same risks. But this didn't add up to me. Not that I'm a genius when it comes to medical stuff. I wish I'd never had to deal with any of it, to be perfectly honest. But I figured it can't be the same risk for somebody who has feeling than somebody who hasn't feeling. So I looked for opinions abroad. I got quite a few of them, and I was absolutely hell-bent, for want of a better term, that Michaela was getting this surgery. Dublin wouldn't do it. They wouldn't put her on a waiting list, which meant that I couldn't access the treatment abroad scheme. I became aware of another scheme that Michaela could possibly have accessed, but the surgeon in Dublin wouldn't sign the form. Now I looked for interventions from so many places, and I have to commend, the TDs in the county here, and I suppose in my native Monaghan Cavan, where they all tried to see if there was something could be done. Michaela's paediatrician in Letterkenny was fantastic, tried to make representation. They wouldn't sign the form.
So effectively, not only were they refusing to do the treatment here, effectively they were blocking you progressing her treatment in Britain.
100%. And I felt profusely intimidated for many, 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 many months by different things that happened, which I won't outline now, because I don't want to obviously prejudice any review, because this review is going to take place. If it's the last thing I ever do, it's going to have to be, the scope is going to have to be widened. There are so many children that I know from Michaela was born, or that were born after her, that are waiting on surgeries. We've very close friends that I've sat and I've watched on different news channels, and I've heard them on the radios, and I can only cry, and that's just the God's honest truth, because I know what they're going through. I've been there. I know what it's like to be waiting for the surgery. I am so lucky that we've had it, but I suppose there are so many of those families that are living in areas that don't have the backup that we have. They're not in the rural location, and I'm like a broken record ever since Michaela got her surgery, saying it takes a village, it takes a county or 2 counties in our case.
Well, Sinead,
we're the lucky ones.
Just to make sure I get all elements of this before the news, Dublin says there was a 50% chance of paralysis. Liverpool, it was 2%. Yeah. How did you manage? 2%. How did you then manage to get Michaela treated in Liverpool? Were you able to do it publicly, or did you have to do it privately?
No, we had to do it completely privately. Wow. And we still attend Liverpool a few times a year as private patients, so we have to pay everything, all our costs, everything, have to be, and we're happy to do that because she gets the care that she needs there. Unfortunately, we have to also attend Temple Street, because if we don't do that, Michaela can't transition to adult services.
Understood.
So I can't take her off.
So Michaela's not on the list. So when we talk about long waiting lists, Michaela never got onto that list. How many other children have and their parents have been told that and have watched their child deteriorate and have to get used to life in a wheelchair? That's very, very worrying. That's very worrying that the outcome for people.
Is hugely. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I suppose one other thing I would say that while the politicians and all the rest, people in power are saying that we can send some of these people abroad, I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with that. But the element of it where the surgeons have to sign the paperwork, that needs to be taken out of it. If a case can be made by the surgeon abroad to verify why it's doable, we're entitled to a second opinion, and the effort to get that should never be frustrated as it was in our case. And the outcome is drastically different for Michaela having had this surgery than it is for a lot of children in Ireland. That's a huge concern.
If you hadn't done what you had done, what would Michaela's situation be like compared to what it actually is like? It's very hard to not get upset when I think of this. I know Michaela would be in a wheelchair. I know she, would have had to get probably a kidney by now. We were told by 12, and she's now 13. I honestly don't think Michaela would be alive had I let that team operate on Michaela. And that's the truth. So it's really disturbing to think about. But it's more disturbing to think about the families that are in this predicament now. And God, how do they eat, sleep and function? I know I struggled with all of that before her surgery. It's hell on earth, for people in that situation. That there's no other term for it. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sorry. It wasn't my intention to upset you, but I just wanted to...
No, you're very good. I'm used to talking to GA with you, not this.
I just wanted us to get a full understanding of it, Sinead. You know yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, fair play to you and your resilience and fight. And I just feel so... I just worry if there's others listening that took the 50-50 chance of paralysis for granted and trusted, and how they might feel now. Sinead, listen, thanks for that.
Thank you very much, Greg. Have a good day.
Bye-bye, you too.
Bye now.
We'll be back with more after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore, 07495 32575.
Have you heard the news? Carrickdon is coming to Donegal. The new store will be in the heart of Buncrana, featuring irresistible fashion, jewellery, accessories, gifts, homewares and much more. Recruitment is now underway for a range of positions from store manager to part-time sales assistants. If you have the passion for retail and the drive for working in an energetic setting, we want to hear from you. See our careers listing at carrickdon.com now.
Sometimes getting older is a good thing. Take a fine cheese. With steady planning, careful preparation and trusted guidance, at every stage of the process, it matures. At Standard Life, we believe in a similar approach when planning for retirement. Because when you do, things get better with age. Search Retirement Hub or talk to your financial advisor today. Standard Life International DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
This weekend, Voices Centra in Carrigart celebrate a monumental milestone, a century in business. All weekend will be filled with festivities at the store. On Friday, don't miss John Breslin broadcasting his show live from Carrigart. Voices will have an abundance of delectable nibbles, streaming coffee, sumptuous ice cream, and an exciting spin the wheel game. So come on down and say hello this Friday from 12 noon as we celebrate 100 remarkable years of Voices Centra in Carrigart.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. A Donegal deputy says the local government bill is a missed opportunity to give county councils the overhaul and review they urgently need. Deputy Thomas Pringle says the legislation should have been the chance to foster true local empowerment, not just a symbolic gesture. Speaking in the Dáil, Deputy Pringle said there doesn't appear to be a desire from councillors to change the current format.
The councillors are quite happy to participate in that system and go along with it. And you have the fiasco of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Independent Fianna Fáil, as they were at one time, all pretending that they govern Donegal County Council, when actually they don't. The county manager governs it. But the councillors are quite happy to go along with it, make it look like that they're in control, appoint a mayor every year, and it looks like that they're doing the business when they have no say whatsoever.
The Public Expenditure Minister has defended the government's decision to send 4 ministers to the US for international events. There's been some criticism that the Taoiseach, Taoiseach, Green Party leader and Health Minister are out of the country at the same time. The Dáil resumed this week in their absence. Minister Paschal Donohoe says he does believe the US trip by senior members of government is necessary.
And the reason for that is some of the challenges that we are now facing from a political point of view are so global in nature, but even though they're global in nature, the consequences are national and even highly local, whether it be migration, whether what happens with regard to climate and how we deal with that.
It's proposed a pedestrian footbridge be erected adjacent to Castlefin Bridge in a bid to alleviate serious safety concerns. There are fears someone could be seriously injured walking on the bridge because of the speed at which cars are travelling on the route. Councillor Gary Doherty says in its current form the bridge is unsafe. He's urging Donegal County Council to prioritise safety works.
It's very important, I think, that the council do whatever they can to carry out safety works there, to try and get the footpath on that portion of the road, and also then to look at a pedestrian footbridge across the bridge, because I think given the examples that we've had of pedestrian footbridges that have been utilised in the Lifford Stranraer MD, if we look at Balbafay Stranraer, if we look at Crossroads Village, we have a number of very good examples of how these pedestrian footbridges can be utilised.
Gardaí and Donegal have issued a stark warning to parents and young people in the county of the dangers of money and parcel muling. Money mules allow fraudsters use their bank accounts to receive monies obtained via fraud, while package mules work for fraudsters by accepting packages on their behalf and sending or delivering them to designated persons or addresses. Gardaí are warning people that being a mule is a criminal offence carrying a sentence of up to 14 years in prison. They're urging people not to allow themselves be used for these purposes. It's been suggested that the former Reynolds music shop close to the local Link bus stop in Letterkenny could be acquired for use as a temporary bus station, pending the development of the town's planned transport hub off the Pearse Road. Councillor Jerry McMonigal says at the very least a new bus shelter with seating needs to be provided. The National Transport Authority has indicated it's prepared to provide funding for new shelter. Council officials are looking at the options and members are seeking a meeting with the NTA. Councillor McMonigal says the potential of the Reynolds site must be explored.
A resident has said to me, why would you not think about taking over the vacant Reynolds music shop and using that as a bus station building where you would have seating and toilet facilities for those people waiting for the bus services? And I think that's a good idea. I think it's thinking outside the box. What we need to do is ensure that if that doesn't happen, that there is proper bus shelters with seating that enable, especially the elderly people, that they have a comfortable seat while they're waiting for their bus.
43% of Irish people believe the TV licence is dated, while more than 6 in 10 want the fee scrapped, according to a new survey by Taxback. Licence renewals have plummeted since the RTE payments scandal began, pushing calls for a media levy to be introduced instead. Social Democrat TD Catherine Murphy believes new thinking is needed.
People should pay their licence. That would be my own view on it. The law of the land at the moment, it does need to be replaced and reformed. And we had the Commission on the Future of the Media. I don't think it went far enough. I don't think it went into the detail it needed to go into in relation to online.
Weather forecast, largely dry and sunny this morning with just a few isolated showers. A little cooler today with highs of 14 to 16 degrees Celsius in a light west to northwest breeze. Cloud increasing during the day with more frequent rain in the afternoon. Cloudy this evening with outbreaks of rain continuing through to tonight. The northwest breezes will strengthen into tonight with overnight lows of 8 to 10 degrees Celsius. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notice is for this Thursday morning, September the 20th. The death has taken place of Ernest Elliott, the Glebe Stranorler. Funeral leaving from his home on Saturday afternoon at 1:45 for 2 o'clock funeral service in St John's Church of Ireland, Stranorler, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. How strictly private, please. The death has occurred of Mary Kelly, née Wilkinson, 11 Townview Heights, Ballybofey, and formerly Creeslaw and London. Remains reposing at her late residence from 7 o'clock this evening. Funeral leaving from there on Saturday morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live on the St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon YouTube channel. The house is private to family, close friends and neighbours. Family time from 10 p.m. until 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Raymond McMaster, Shesha, Dunfanaghy, County Donegal. His remains will be reposing at his late residence from 12 noon today. Funeral service in Holy Trinity Church, Hornhead Road, Dunfanaghy, County Donegal on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Burial afterwards in St Anne's Church Graveyard, Killalt, Fulcara. Family time please from 9 p.m. to 12 noon. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu to the Irish Cancer Research, care of any family member or James Harkin, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Mario Hegarty, 8 Shandon Park, Derry. Mario will be reposing at 8 Shandon Park, Derry this afternoon from 3 o'clock. Funeral leaving there on Saturday morning at 10:15, going to the Sacred Heart Church Muff for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Art O'Hagan, 21 Melmount Gardens, Strabane, reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home tomorrow morning at 9:25 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 10 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers please to Melmount Manor Residents Comfort Fund, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time please from 11 o'clock tonight. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Fonzie James A. McCullough, Cloney, Key Road, Dunlow. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral Mass tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock in St Cronus Church, Dunlow, with interment afterwards in Mahery Cemetery. Rosary tonight at 9 o'clock. And the death has taken place of Mary Patricia Haughey, 4 Rosemount, Kilmacrennan, and formerly Killygordon, and 9 Park na Holonia, Mahernchur, Buncrana. Park na Holonia, Mahernchur, Buncrana. Remains are reposing at 4 Rosemount, Kilmacrennan. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Columbus Church, Kilmacrennan, with burial afterwards in New Lex Cemetery, Letterkenny. House private on the morning of the funeral. For more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Whether it's a 5 or 10k, half or full marathon, everyone's running journey is different. Find your pace with the Summer of Running series with Irish Life Dublin Marathon. Search Irish Life Summer of Running series to sign up. A better life with Irish Life.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And good morning again to you. Welcome back to the programme. Good to have you on board this Thursday. Let's get to some of your comments as we head towards the bingo numbers. Today's jackpot day as well, by the way, so all very exciting if you're playing. Do the same rules apply to e-scooters, them and the quads, two of my pet hates? No, we're talking about quads here being used in workplace environments. What about people that ride quad bikes on beaches for fun? Recreational quads doesn't apply in that instance. How long does the cert last for? Eternally. Does he really think that farmers will abide by the rule of 16? All young fellas well under that will be driving them. It's not realistic to say a young person growing up on the farm not to drive the quad around the farm or up the road to other land. Well, you know, I presume they're looking for a cultural change. That's going to take a while. I agree with you. That happens. It's going to continue to happen. A caller wants to know, does the same law apply in England, re-quads as well as here? If not, why not? I'm not sure what the laws are in England on that one. Oh, they actually throw Wellington boots. I thought it was some kind of culty euphemism for stuff I probs rather not know. Chuck in the welly. I don't know what it could be. Your mind. I don't want to get in it either. They literally throw a Wellington boot. 995 of them. A caller believes the protests were a reality check for some of our politicians. Well, it's going to be counterintuitive because it plays directly into their hands. And wait till you see the laws, the regulations and the rules that will come into effect off the back of yesterday. Because even, you know, how would you describe it? I'm not a fan of labels, okay, but for me to make this point, I have to sort of go down that route, okay? Even say, for instance, you know, right-leaning or sympathetic senators, TDs and media all have roundly condemned yesterday's activities. Amazingly how quickly politicians act and come out and speak when it affects them immediately. They got a bit of verbal abuse and jostled, yet Micah families' lives are falling apart and politicians really dragging their heels. But if that happened down at the Micah protest, for an example, now the scheme that's there at the moment is an improvement, but we know when we discuss the defective concrete scheme routinely on this programme, as you know, regularly. If that protest wasn't as peaceful, as big and as controlled as it was, we probably wouldn't have, they could have used it as an excuse to sort of say, well, that's the you know, stick to the 90-10 scheme. Now, there's still a lot of work to do, but throwing things around the place, jostling people, foul language, you know, that plays into the decision makers' hands. Fair play to the real men and women who were in Dublin protesting yesterday, but it's gone past protesting. The government are gangsters and won't listen. Time for a return to the dark days. I mean, is that really where we're going now? The good men and women of Ireland counted 200. You know, so I'm not sure it's the general view out there. Who's to say? On to the patient survey. Every patient in the hospital should feel safe. Employ more security personnel like Sligo have done. In theory, it might be a good idea. Doesn't always work. Another folded job for a nurse, I think. Pardon my ignorance on this. Increase security in what way? Like what could happen in the absence of security, if you know what I mean? What happened in Sligo? Why is there extra security? What would make people feel more safe? Is there a particular problem or an experience you've had that makes you want that? And I ask only just so I can better understand it. Good morning, Greg. I want to point out that we have numerous complaints to the hospital system and no response. Why is this going to be different? Because I think it's a different team about, you know, the quality of care, interactions, communication, food, you know, the stuff that can be sort of reviewed on an ongoing basis and little changes can be made. Now, if it's in terms of, you know, when someone was discharged, you know, lack of staff, I mean, I'm sure they'll take on board things like, you know, we've been waiting for 12 hours in the ED, but that's not actionable. I think really speaking to Sandra, the stuff that they can make a difference in, the experience, you know, the fantastic nurses down there, they really are. I've dealt with them myself and they were fantastic to us and they have been in the past as well. Maybe there's little things, ways that things can be improved, but obviously that doesn't talk to the greater problems which aren't going to be fixed with a survey. That's all we need. Another manager at Letterkenny Hospital, says another listener. 3 weeks into hedge cutting season, very little done. Roads are dangerous, closed in with overgrown bushes and briars, and no one wants to move in, so more risk of collisions. Something needs to be done. I've spotted quite a bit of it done. What area in particular? Because it might go by municipal district, you know, so maybe no harm in letting us know. Good morning, Greg. €185,000 raised on Jive for June for Donegal Hospice. A big thank you to Highland Radio for all the support. Big thanks to all who took part and all who held events and who donated. Everyone's support is very much appreciated. All money raised will be used to care for patients of County Donegal. Regards, Isabel, Chair of Donegal Hospice. And Isabel, fair play to you as well and all the team involved. It's a remarkable achievement for a remarkable organisation. The One Initiative, Jive for June, €185,000 raised. If you donated in any way, shape or form to that, congratulations, you're fantastic. And that money is going to be used for the care of patients. And some of us have used the services of the hospice, others will into the future. And that money is really, really helpful and useful in providing that excellent care. So well done to Isabel, because these ideas and this money doesn't get raised unless someone sticks the neck out and says, right, let's try this or let's do that. It's a remarkable figure, and I'm really proud to be part of Highland Radio. If it had any hand, act or part in raising that money, it really is superb. But the biggest thanks of all goes out to the generous people of Donegal and beyond. It's not just Donegal where people listen to us who donated. It's fantastic, and well done to you all.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 21st of September, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €20,800 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S9. It's game number 38. The jackpot number is 32. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 37, 46, 23, 33, 58, 14, 72, 74, 42, and finally 57. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
It's back. The Furniture Show NI returns to CFC Interiors, Campsie Derry this Saturday. Save, save, save with massive discounts from leading brands in furniture and interiors. From sofas, beds, flooring and design. CFC have it all reduced in their biggest sale. Don't miss the Furniture Show NI starting this Saturday exclusively at CFC Interiors, Campsie Derry.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be talking to the Chief Commercial Officer with Precision Sports Technology, Sean McVeigh, about securing an investment of $100,000 from 3 US-based businessmen at the Alpha Innovation event in Rathmull. I'll also be speaking to one of those investors, John T. Fries, whose father was born and raised in Kilmacrennan. And it's that time of the year again when we look ahead to the Acorns programme, now in its 9th year, with CEO of Accountant Online, Larissa Feely.
Business Matters in association with ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. Now is the time to realise your potential by enrolling on the part-time degree in business. Only 3 years with 1 evening per week on campus and another online. Open up your future by contacting the faculty office on 9186206 or visit lyit.ie today.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. And we're joined on the programme now by Declan Murphy. Good morning to you, Declan. How are you keeping?
Hi, Greg. Yeah, I'm not too bad.
Good to chat to you, right? And we're talking about Duncanely National School and some concern about safety at the school. Declan, what's your experience, or what can you tell listeners not familiar with the area?
Yeah, no problem, Greg. Yeah, so the experience is as recent as yesterday. So I've got 2 small boys in Duncanely National School. The youngest lad is in junior infants. He gets picked up at 2 p.m. and the oldest fella gets picked up at 3 p.m. So yesterday I was on the school run myself. went to the school, parked up at the community centre, as parents usually do, and then walked up towards the school. There were a few parents congregated outside the school gates waiting for the kids to be taken to the gates by the teacher, which is standard every day. So the kids came down, and they all took their parents' hands. We went to the pedestrian crossing just outside the school gates. One of the kids had pushed the button on the traffic lights, and they're all told to wait for the green man before proceed across the road. So the green man started to flash. We start to walk across the road with the kids, holding their hands. And with that, a vehicle coming from the Donegal town side, I can only describe it as hurtling towards us and then screeching on the brakes. The vehicle skidded for at least maybe 10 to 15 feet before it finally came to a halt. And it actually had to put its passenger side wheel onto the curb to stop. So, yeah, with that, you can imagine there was a lot of animation, frustrated parents, and, yeah, it sort of created a lot of discussion here locally in the community yesterday, and just, a conversation around how we need to highlight the dangers with the traffic in Duncanelly in general, but around the school in particular is really bad, and it's an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, indeed. And what needs to happen, do you think? Because it's a decent stretch of road. It feels kind of residential now to some extent, Duncanelly, unfortunately, and that's another subject altogether. Yeah. People don't feel they have to slow down going through. And that school, if I'm correct, you come round a bit of a sweeping corner. And then you're at the school effectively. Is that right? Going up the hill, slight hill?
Yeah, so coming from the Donegal town side, there's a good long stretch coming in, as we call it, the Mill Road.
Yeah.
And then there's a slow sweeping corner where you approach the school. Now, there is a number of signs when you come in, but it's a pretty fast road coming into the village, and it's the same on the other side as well too. Just to mention that on the Killybeg side. I mean, I don't know what the solution is. As I've said to a number of people, I mean, you've got a national school that was built there during the 1950s, and there's really, there's been nothing being put in place to sort of support a school that's been built, in the 50s. There's a lot more traffic on the road. The roads are obviously really good surface now, so vehicles are, they're moving a lot faster. People seem to be in a lot more of a panic nowadays, but the school still stands the same. Nothing has changed. So it is quite frightening from a parent's perspective, especially when you witness it firsthand. And in terms of what needs to be done, I'm not really sure what the solution is, Greg. I mean, people have talked about rumble strips, traffic camming. I myself think maybe the lights are not in the right position, the traffic lights themselves. Maybe they should be further back from the school. Maybe there should be two sets of traffic lights. But there needs to be some measures put in place.
Do you know if there's temporary speed limit signs there? Like, as you come around that corner, is there a light that would flash to say slow down? Because I think sometimes we could go down the road here whereby the council say, well, it's not our responsibility, and TII will say, well, we can't do this and we can't do that because it's a national primary and we'll have to do a survey. Right, that stuff immediately. Why can't we have, because I think they're really effective, a flashing sign just as you're coming around that corner, saying school ahead, slow down, slow. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we should try the simplest things first and then get caught up in surveys and the big stuff, Declan. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's something that, I mentioned as well last night to actually one of the teachers I spoke to last night at a local community meeting. So I'd lived in the UK for 5 or 6 years, and in the UK, and it was in Scotland, there was a lot of the smaller villages have these really sort of bright flashing signage lights, so they read your speed back to you.
Yeah, they're really effective.
They're really effective, because I know myself, I've witnessed going into a small village, maybe going a little bit too fast, and you get your speed read back to you, and it's like a very sort of a vibrant light, something like that. I don't know, maybe that's the first control
Well, I've
measure you
seen
can
them.
put in
Listen,
place?
there's a set going into Capri from the Donegal side. You always see people put on the brakes now that it's there. There's ones going down into Sligo, as you probably would know, Declan. They're really effective because it's an instant feedback of what you're doing and you can't ignore it. Yes, there are the 2 orange flashing lights as you approach Duncanelly School, but it's not effective. And I think by the time you get up to the school, you've probably forgot you've seen those lights. We need to be doing more.
Yeah. 100%, Greg. And I just want to highlight as well, I mean, this is not the first occasion. There's been a number of occasions where there's been incidents or near misses, high potentials, whatever you want to call them, out of that school. My wife, on the first day back of the school term this year, had reported to the council an issue where someone had ran the red lights. And I know myself and another parent last year had a close call whilst taking their child across the pedestrian crossing as well. Same thing, a vehicle ran the lights. So it's an ongoing issue. There's an issue at the school itself in terms of parking. There's nowhere suitable to pull in when the bus comes in. There's nowhere for any of the parents to drive to park. So they got to park at the community centre and then walk up. Then they've got to cross the pedestrian walkway where the issue is, right? Because that's where we experienced the problem yesterday. If there was somewhere at the school that we could physically pull in, for a drop off, a pick up, I think it would ultimately resolve a lot of this. But I mean, then you're talking, you're into a lot of money. Then there's a lot of funding needed for that. So, but yeah, we need some sort of a control measure put in place, I think, imminently before there is an issue, a big issue out of that school.
Yeah, and I think too, and if it's not already the case, it certainly should be the case. These schools, and it's not just here, we see it right around the county, they were there often before the road was built to accommodate heavy traffic, and it should be part of planning that safety measures in schools are put in place because, as I say, they're the fixed object. It's the high speed and great surface roads that are built alongside them often or widened and increase the traffic. Listen, it's something, I think something needs to be done. I think we don't want this to get tied down in TII surveys, or you can't do rumble strips, residential, all that kind of stuff. We just need what can we do, and what can we do really, really quickly to avoid something worse happening into the future? I think it's a reasonable request, and it's been reasonably articulated, Declan, but we're talking about our young people's lives here, and
exactly.
I think that's why something needs to be done. All right. Good stuff. And the school's on board with this as well, by the way. It's actually Duncanelly National School that issued the initial warning saying that, look at, this was a scary situation. Talk to your children, obviously. We can do that, but we need the road users and the road and the infrastructure to also do its bit as well, I think, Declan.
Yeah, 100%, Craig. Yeah, and I mean, again, just to highlight the fact that, one more time, Duncanelly in general, from the Killybegs side right through to the Donegal town side of the village, it's been treated like an airstrip by a lot of vehicles. I've witnessed vehicles overtaken on the main street in Duncanelly, if you can believe that. It's crazy. Okay. Something needs to get done in this village.
I'm looking at an image of it here now. That's absolutely not an image of the overtaken, but an image of the street, and to imagine that's happening. Right, okay, take care, Declan. Hopefully something comes of it. And I mean, you or the school, or stay in touch if we can give it any further publicity. We really have no issue with that at all. Thanks, Declan.
Thanks, Greg.
Right,
appreciate it. Cheers.
Bye. And for those of you watching, you'll see the main street of Duncanelly where Declan witnessed overtaking. It's just used as a sort of a rat run and a bit of a pain if you're getting from Donegal town to Killybegs, I think, by some in any case. All right, okay, thanks to Declan for that. If you're listening down in that area and you also have a student at that school, any suggestions or what you think needs to be done, please let us know. There's a coffee morning taking place this morning in the new hall in Falcarra. It's starting now shortly, and it runs to 1 p.m, and it's in aid of Donegal Hospice. So if you want to support that, get along. Right, back with more of your comments, more guests on the 9 till noon show.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Let's talk about lamb. Quality assured lamb. There's so many ways to enjoy its natural flavour, like tender lamb pieces for a midweek teriyaki stir fry, or succulent lamb chops, delicious with minty couscous. And for the weekend, leg of lamb with rosemary that the whole family will enjoy. For great meal ideas, visit boardbia.ie/recipes, and always choose lamb with the Boardbia quality mark so you know it's produced to Boardbia's high standards, verified at every stage.
Chail tú cola riamh ag smaoinemh an bhéting ráta níos fearráil mar bhagáiste? Well, ní rís. Psst. Le háirlis airgid mórgáistí an CCPC is féidir mórgáistí a chur gumbarád ar an turt, agus chola níos fearr is tú cinnte go bhfuil an ráta is feargad.
Ach bhíos im chola?
Shh. Té chuig ccpc.ie/mortgages.
Tásam. Ón gamisisiún amíocht agus cosan taltóirí.
Choosing the perfect stove is a big decision. Here at Charles Bunner & Sons Ballybuffet, we are one of Ireland's leading dealers in stoves and ranges in a variety of styles and sizes at exceptional prices. And with our professional advice, we're sure we'll find the perfect one just for you. So call 074 9131 700 or visit thestovestore.ie.
Fancy a game of bingo? Play at Strand Bingo, Strand Road, open 7 days a week. Free bus every Tuesday from Letterkenny, stopping at Manor Cunningham, Newton Cunningham and Killay. Contact Marley Coaches for more information. Play Tuesdays from just £5 for 6 chances to win £300, with free food available. Check out boyledbingoclub.com or download our app for more info.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Student loans now available and free banking for students from your local and friendly credit union. Call 91-02126 or email loans@letterkennycu.ie.
Okie dokie. On Facebook, Rosemary says, Greg, the security in Sligo Hospital are brilliant, and I tell you, the department that you're going to, I spent a day in Letterkenny Casualty Department, and there's no security to be seen. As for another manager at Letterkenny University Hospital, they might be better than the present manager who's only spent, well, okay, I get where you're coming from, and I the stuff that I can't substantiate, but your point's made and appreciated. Before a couple of comments, can I mention to you, by the way, that Sister Act, a Divine musical comedy, is coming to, where is it? It's in the, I don't know where it is. The Bord Gáis Energy Theatre is exactly where it is. It's coming to the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre on Friday the 23rd of February 2024. It's only 95 days to Christmas. Can you imagine that? 95 days. Now, I know we haven't had Halloween yet, but my word. But anyway, so maybe you want to treat yourself, or maybe you want to treat someone else. I think it'd be a lovely Christmas present. And we take the hassle out of going, right? So you can join Highland Radio as we take you on this unforgettable trip to an unforgettable show. It's on Friday the 23rd of February. It's at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre. We've got great tickets for you. We're going to get you there in luxury transfer. We're going to put you up in a 4-star hotel on a bed and breakfast basis. That is the City North Hotel in Dublin, and a good ticket for the show as well. So if you want more information, give us a call on 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000, or visit highlandradio.com, and you can put a deposit down and then pay in closer to the time as well, so you can secure your position right now. If you want to have a Christmas present in the bag, because, you know, some of us will struggle on Christmas Eve to find something suitable. That's a lovely one. An overnight stay in Dublin. And there's before the bus comes back the following morning. You all right, Caroline? Yeah. Before the bus comes back the following morning, there is an opportunity to go shopping as well in Dublin. Right, Raymond joins us. Raymond, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How's the form?
I am doing all right. Good to chat to you again. Right, your reaction to the protest outside Leinster House yesterday?
Greg, I think there's a fundamental issue here of confidence, or lack of confidence and lack of credibility. Let me just go to a relevant aside here. Very recently, you know, the Metropolitan Police in London, they have like 34,000 officers. The police department, the Met Police, had to issue a public apology because of basically an institutional lack of confidence by the public in the Met Police. And I thought that was absolutely extraordinary. You know, there's apparently like 1,000 officers in London have either been suspended for duty or put on restricted duties here. And I think there was 201 that have been suspended and 860 that have been put on restricted duties in here. And
in Ireland, sorry, those figures in Ireland, are they?
No, that's London, the Met Police in London.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have a commissioner, Mark Rowland, who became commissioner a year ago. And I thought it was just, sort of as an outsider, it was absolutely extraordinary. Could you imagine an institution in Ireland doing what the Met Police, obviously with the commissioner's approval? There was an independent review of them, and they found there was a lot of, shall we say, issues all over the place.
So what is your point? Are you saying that you believe there's a lot of rotten apples in the guards that need rooting out? I mean, what is the comparison you're making there?
Well, I guess primarily the comparison was they had the courage to issue a public apology saying we have a very serious problem because the public doesn't have confidence in us.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the Oireachtas Dáil Éireann, I think it's an identical situation, but here in Ireland, where there's like a total lack of confidence. It's almost, without being sort of derogatory, it seems to be almost sort of a master to slave relationship.
But the slaves vote the masters in, Raymond. There's an election coming now in the next 18 months. That's the time to root people out, isn't it?
You're right,
not
but
threaten them with a hanging.
Nothing ever changes. It's like it's controlled by 2 or 3 parties, basically.
But that's the will of the people, though, Raymond. You see, you're criticising the politicians, and I get that, right? But it is the public that vote them in. The public can't wring their hands of this. And just because there's 200 people angry outside it about the Dáil yesterday, what is there, for right or wrong, is the democratic will of the people, not necessarily the parties that are coalescing now. But my point is that if people are angry enough and dissatisfied enough, you address that at election time, surely.
Well, no, Greg, I understand the point you're making. Then when you enter corruption and brown envelopes and favors in here, or perceived favors on the road, like last week I was listening to your show, and this sort of upset me seriously. There was a long-term family fish business in Killybegs, somewhere around the piers.
Mm-hmm.
And if I understood correctly, they were having to go out of business because fish was coming in off the west coast of Africa, supposedly. Okay, I'm not a fisherman. And basically, fish being caught off Donegal can't compete with fish coming in from West Africa. And then yesterday you had a gentleman on your show. I think he was representing one of the organizations.
Jerry Early, yeah.
And it was like, it was just terrible. He's basically saying, there's got to be hope, but there's no hope out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think from an earlier show of yours, and I'm not up on this, it's like Ireland only has 15% of the total catch off the Irish seas.
Mm-hmm.
And you sort of wonder what in God's name and why. And it's like, this family business in Killybegs, like there's something needs to be done seriously
so Raymond,
about
what you're saying is, and sorry to move you on, effectively what you're saying is that all of the reasons you've been outlining is the reasons as to why people take to the streets like they did. But you wouldn't condone the jostling, the foul and abusive language, the gallows, the effigies, would you? Or do you? Are you?
No. I'm not justifying that, but there's an underlying. When you got the current Taoiseach, whatever his name is, Varadkar, trying to play like they're the victims in here, but we don't want to address the real cause.
Mm-hmm.
There's a serious issue in here.
Okay.
And like Greg, I'm sorry. The people in Doyle Aaron or wherever, they're all looking for supposedly big jobs down the road in Brussels, and we do whatever you Brussels tell us to do. You know, there was a number of years ago, there was a prominent English politician. He was a former Chancellor of the Exchequer, and a few years before he became Chancellor, he said the way you deal, and he wasn't English, he was, I think, Indian, a gentleman named Sajid Javid, and he said the way you deal with the Irish is you either threaten them or you bribe them, and Brussels has learned, they've learned everything.
Yeah, but it is the system. And do you think that anyone, even if they were of a different political mindset, wouldn't go up there and collect their 120 grand a year and then get used to that and maybe think, wow, I could get 250 grand a year in Europe? That's the system, and it seems that anyone who gets involved in the system sort of, I don't know, if not everyone, but for most people, it becomes something that they want to progress in. Listen, I have to go beyond that, Raymond. Thank you very much indeed. David Hall is a regular guest on this programme and was at Leinster House yesterday in meeting Deputy Dara O'Brien. David, thanks for taking the call. I appreciate it.
No problem. Good morning, Greg.
What was your experience, David? You walked. Well, talk us through what happened to you.
Yeah, I was in to meet Minister O'Brien yesterday for a one-to-one in relation to obviously housing, and we do a lot of work through iCare Housing and in relation to Mortgage Holders Organisation and various projects. And I had a meeting with the Minister in his office. I walked out of the building. While walking out of the building, a number of staff were obviously issuing concerns as to what entrances and exits were safe to exit the building from. It was a most remarkable experience to be listening to a number of ministers and junior ministers and their staff having conversations amongst themselves as to which entrance and exits was safe to exit from and what badge IDs and stuff would be required as our national parliament. And a genuine sense of fear. I had entered the building. I parked around by Marion Square. I had entered the building in Kildare Street, and while walking across, obviously the place was entirely cordoned off. The guards had made a decision to cordon off the entire area, and there was a lot of shouting and roaring while I was on my way in. When I came out of Leinster House, I was mistaken for a TD or a member of staff. It's irrelevant. A number of people were very aggressive and don't know me, they know nothing about me, but it was irrelevant. I was exiting a building and they decided without any cause. And Greg, I've been a party to many protests outside Leinster House. I've been a party to many protests outside repossessions of properties in auction houses. They're all done with a just cause, and I do them again in the morning. But there's no abuse of individuals, no threatening behaviour, no such environments that would make you fearful for your safety and fearful for the safety of others
what
around in an explosive situation.
David, they believed you were a TD. What?
I was working for Europe. I was working for Brussels. It was pathetic, actually, in the sense that you couldn't have found somebody of the most opposite leaving the building. And it just showed the complete incoherence and ignorance that was on display, and a sheer ranting for the sake of ranting. And I don't know if it's therapeutic for those that were involved, but whatever it was, they were ranting and raving with no relevance whatsoever, in the sense that I'm in having a one-to-one ding-dong with the Minister for Housing, protecting the very people they claim to be representing, and others trying to house them, and set up a housing charity which now owns 510 homes with 1,500 tenants from scratch, again to protect people from housing and homeless, and set up an organised and ran a charity for the last 10 years since the recession, helping 22,000 people in mortgage arrears, protect them from losing their homes. So these were just a group of headbangers who were shouting and roaring and ranting and raving and threatening, using vile language, and very, very unsettling to have. And then two Gardaí then escorted me to my car because they were trying to clear the gates of the Marion Street entrance to Leinster House, where staff had to park, and TDs and senators had to park, and the gates were being blocked by a small group of people. And as I say, the guards, were as professional as they could be under the circumstances. They made a decision in relation to effectively locking down the south side of the city centre for a couple of hundred people to shout and roar and rant and rave.
What do you say, David, to those that, and in situations like this, it's actually, you're most likely to hear on a programme like this, and I'm sure it's the situation nationally, a person is most likely to text in if they are sympathetic to yesterday's protest. That's just a fact of life, because if people are think it went too far, generally they're not going to get the phone line. So, but my question is a lot of those will say enough is enough. We tried the softly. We tried the peaceful stuff.
No. But here's Greg. Here's the question. What was yesterday? A bunch of tourists walked past as the guards were bringing me back to my car, and they asked me, "What's the protest about?" I said, "I don't know. I don't actually know."
It's about immigration. It's about Irish lives mattering. I'm not.
Sure, we all know that.
Yeah, okay.
Sure, we all know that. But what changes? My point is, normally there's a cause that requires a change. So what was the cause yesterday? Throw anyone who's non-Irish out of the country? What was actually the ask? What was the ask? Anyone else? Farmers, you know what the protest was last week. We would protest regularly in relation to housing. We know what the requirements and what the request is then. It does not justify an escalation to an intimidation, to verbal abuse and to violence. That is just not acceptable under any set of circumstances in any semblance of democracy. It is not appropriate to threaten and shout and roar at TDs, senators, or indeed their staff, or indeed me or anybody else. That is unacceptable behaviour, and there's no escalation in the world justifies and warrants that.
Yeah. All right. And in a way, whatever the motivation is, this is going to be counterintuitive because not as many people will turn out as the next protest. There's going to be increased security. It's going to fast track certain laws. I think whatever they were trying to achieve, they've probably achieved the opposite, David.
And yesterday they had this gallows thing yesterday, and I sort of said this is an anti-government. Like you, I said this is an anti-government protest, and I came closer to the gallows to find not only were there sort of photographs of Leo Varadkar and Micheál Martin, there I saw Mary Lou, there I saw Paul Murphy. Everybody was up on the gallows, Greg.
Owen O'Brien's up there.
Everyone's up there. Roger O'Gorman. There was no rhyme, no reason. There was no plan. There was no execution of a plan. This was civil unrest for the sake of it, which is going to cause great difficulty for legitimate protests. And we have a lot of difficulties and challenges, and we need the government to get off their arse and solve a lot of difficult problems. This, unfortunately, not only what you just said in relation to backfiring, this now is going to give government a significant amount of headroom and airspace to discredit other protests that might be of a legitimate nature and might be attempting to be successful rather than the charade that happened yesterday.
David, I know you're very busy as always. Thanks for your time. I do appreciate it. That's David Hall there.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
It's the great autumn of savings at SuperValu with over 1,000 price cuts on all the big brands you love, like Nescafe Gold Sachets 8-pack was €4.65, now €3. Chicago Town Deep Dish Twin Pack Pizzas was $3.55, now $1.99. And money off vouchers every week on the app too. So pop in for great savings in-store or online this autumn at SuperValu.
Are you watching the rugby? Says Mr. Brennan. I am, says I. Come here to me. What do you think of the other team's bread? Like what, says he? French baguettes. Can't fit them in the toaster. No use. All right, says I. What about focaccia? You can't use that kind of language on the radio. Sure, none of it beats Brennan's family pan anyway. To put it in rugby terms, it's the only one that's worth a try. Brennan's. Today's bread today.
At Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
It's time to transform your smile with the help of Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Their expert team offer orthodontics, teeth whitening, implants and composite bonding all in-house. Start your journey by calling 074 974 0404 or easily book your appointment online at a time that suits you through their user-friendly patient portal, available anytime, anywhere at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Medical card patients welcome.
The eagerly anticipated brand new production of the Broadway smash hit musical Sister Act is on its way to the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre in Dublin. Join Highland Radio as we make our way to this unforgettable show on Friday, 23rd of February 2024. Your trip includes luxury transfers, bed and breakfast at the 4-star City North Hotel in Dublin, and your ticket to the show. For more information, call Highland Radio today on 074 91 25,000 or visit highlandradio.com.
OK, we're going to head back down to Duncanely now, and we're joined by Orla, who was also on the scene yesterday. A real close shave, Orla. What was it like? Good morning to you.
Good morning. It was very, very frightening. Obviously, being there stood with your 4 and 5-year-old children, witnessing the light going green, going to cross and seeing a coal truck coming, a small lorry coming towards you at speed, and thinking, is this going to slow down? And then the horrific screeching noises. It was just so frightening. It was so frightening.
Yeah. And you just got home felt lucky that you actually got home safe with your family.
Very lucky. My heart was in. Took my son home. I didn't say much to him, and he came in the door and he said to his dad, "We were nearly dead."
Wow.
And he explained his situation. That was him coming to his own solution, or
he had the own awareness of the seriousness of it.
Yeah. And at 4 years old.
Yeah, you talk about the fact that you were there picking up the younger children, but there's older children leave a little later at 3 p.m. And if this had happened then, you have concerns that, this wouldn't have just been a close shave.
Absolutely. I have an 8-year-old that just once the light goes green, him and his friends, and we're there with them, but they run on across the road. And only for we were holding our little kids' hands yesterday, and we stopped, in the middle of the road, wondering, was this man going to stop? But the rest of the children would have ran on and they would have been hit. And the fact that the fella in the lorry went up on the sidewalk a bit, they would have been goners.
Yeah, and it's not a very big sidewalk, and there could have been people on that as well.
Yeah.
And you see, and I think what really needs to happen here is parents' voices need to be heard, the school's voice needs to be heard. And as I said to Declan, it doesn't matter if it's the council, the TII, the Department of Education, whatever it might be. Parents now are saying we need, at the very least, flashing lights, displaying people's speed, telling them to slow down, because we've got one really strong warning here, and we might not get another warning order before something happens.
No, I don't think the next time it could be the real time that somebody gets hit. I know parents yesterday that were putting their children in the cars and bit their heads in their hands because they just heard the noise and they thought somebody was hit. So it is going to be a reality in the next while, definitely. I don't know, should Norma Foley come up and stand at 2 and 3 o'clock looking and observing the traffic, because I know the road people, they've known about this issue for years. The school needs funding from the Department of Education to tackle it on their end. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I think they are awaiting funding, if I'm correct. Duncanely National School are awaiting funding to look at the drop-off, pick-up space that is there. So hopefully that is forthcoming. Now, we're going to put inquiries in, obviously, to the Department of Education to see if they have anything to say, and who is to say it might even help speed those things up, Orla. But we don't want to be talking again about another close shave. We might not have that opportunity. We could be talking about an awful tragedy, and we don't want that. And I don't think there's anyone in this country that makes decision wants it either. So parents have to be listened to.
You're right, yeah, absolutely.
All right, Orla, I'm glad these are all safe. A big gunk, a shock, life in front of your eyes and all that stuff, and especially whatever about us, our children, that would keep you awake at night. But thanks very much for helping us highlight it with Declan. I do appreciate it.
No bother, Greg.
Have a lovely day, Orla. Bye-bye. A caller says, Greg, David's 100% correct. Protesting is everyone's democratic right. This is David Hall. But yesterday's behaviour was abysmal. That kind of riotous behaviour towards elective government representatives is not appropriate, believes Mary. The crazy far-right protesters, as they're labelled by this texter, shame themselves in Dublin yesterday. Greg, all the people in this country are fed up with the crowd that's in and all the lies they tell us, but what's the alternative? I don't know. There are alternative candidates out there. Maybe they'll come forward. Maybe that's why so many people don't vote. A lot of people don't vote. If people that didn't vote voted, they could actually completely change the outcome of an election. There's 40% of people simply don't vote. And then go, it's crazy, the people that are in there and that government making the decisions. And I get why people be apathetic, but if you don't vote, you can't influence the change. And I'm not saying everyone wants change. A lot of people are happy. Up to 40% satisfaction in the government in terms of popularity. As a collective, they're more popular than Sinn Féin, and that's really important to point out. A lot of people are happy with what's the current government are doing and the direction they're going. Not everyone is, but unless everyone votes, you don't really know what the outcome might be. When people in power are inconvenienced by the people they represent, they make noise. It's not fair, and stuff like that they have no shame. Greg, the people voted the TD in, and the TDs are not working for the people. Look what happened about the Mica and the foreign nationals coming in. The government don't care about the Irish. A lot of people will watch the news this morning and will have seen the extensive bombing of Ukraine, for an example. And would say, look, and are saying we need to be doing our bit and are happy with the way things are. That's a voice that it's not heard as much because they kind of get on with life and are happy enough. And we do hear an awful lot of people then, of course, that maybe they're not talking specifically about Ukrainians. I don't know. But this caller says the government don't care about the Irish. Hi, Greg. All of Donegal should have been up at government buildings yesterday. The way this government has treated the people in the county, I hope they're wiped out at the next election. Another caller says, I think the problem with the Fine Gael Fianna Fáil Green government is that their inability to run government is being found out at so many levels and in so many ways. They steer from one crisis to the next and still do not fix them. Housing, homelessness, defective concrete, cost of living, children's operations, CALMS, TUSLA, violence in the street, lack of Gardaí, drugs, family court system, stuck education, refugees, farmers. The list goes on and on and on. As do their unfulfilled promises and making a mess of normal people's lives, believes this listener. Greg, Raymond's points and observations are very representative of the views of many Irish people. I don't doubt that for a second. Right, let's see, where are we now? Okay, no, I've got plenty of time here. Good morning, Greg. Please, could you give a big shout out to Sue McGlynn from Bonamy? Wish her a very happy 70th birthday today. Lots of love and best wishes from Damien, Kathy, Jack and Harry. Happy birthday, Sue. Congratulations to Ethan Harkin Falcara on passing his driving test today from Uncle John McFadden. Please play Red-Haired Mary for him. I can't do that on this programme. I can do it, but we don't have time. Someone else will. Well done, Ethan. Your freedom awaits. Hopefully now you can get on the road taxed and insured, and now you're able to do pretty much whatever you want. Shay Robinson in Termon, he's 8 today. Hi, Shay. You're probably at school. Maybe this is a little bit late. But anyway, Mum and Dada and brothers Oshin and Finn can tell you that we said hello to you, Shay. Have a happy birthday, the big 8. Okay, let's get to some more of your comments here. My heart goes out to the poor children trying to get an operation. It's a disgrace that the families have to go private to get their children's surgery. I would bet that if the parents said they would go private, they would be operated on within a month. It's the government won't fund the money for these operations, just forcing the parents to go private. That comes in from Hugh. Hugh, I'm not sure it's just all about funding. There's something going on with the system there because there's been no end of promises and targets set that haven't been met. I'm not sure it's about money. A caller says you have to break eggs to make an omelette. The people of this country have had enough of this government, continued purposeful ignorance. I should expect more of these protests. It's within our right to seek real change. Furthermore, Mr. Martin, in his role, should be denouncing the right to protest in his own country from the US, land of the free. I don't think anyone is opposed to protests. There's protests outside Dáil Éireann every day of the week. I think it's the reason why there's commentary on it today and yesterday, and there will be going forward, is the nature of it, the jostling, the pushing, the phone cameras in the face, the foul language. I'm not particularly sensitive, but I wasn't on the receiving end of that language. Hi, could you please pass this on to people driving from Carndon to Allentown in the dark? Lots of people walk on this road without high-vis vests or a jacket on. Just take care when driving, thanks. And everyone out in the roads at dusk, dawn and in between should have high-vis on for their safety and for other road users as well. Greg, the people running the country are doing a poor job, so they keep pushing everyone down and expecting us to say nothing. We need a change of power, and it looks like they're going to go out screaming and yelling, okay?
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Every time you step outside your house, the choices you make count. And every day you go to work, how you get there counts. By choosing to take public transport or to walk or cycle to work whenever you can, you're doing your bit to help reduce Ireland's transport emissions. It's why €563 million has been allocated for bus and rail services around the country this year. Because wherever you're going, your journey counts. Visit gov.ie/your journey counts. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
At Centra, shop smart and feel good with great offers this week. Like Centra Fisher's sirloin steak, 454 gram, only €6. Selected soft drinks, Dairy Milk large bars and Kyo sharing crisps, any 3 for €4. And until Sunday, Santarita 120 selected range, €8 each. So shop smart, feel good. Centra, live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Weanling prices soar. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Exporters light up autumn cattle trade as beef prices also lift. Decision on slurry spreading extension looming. Farmers fear major loss of rented land in 2024. Dairy exit schemes still up in the air. We answer your key questions on acres. Beat Ireland to sell Carlow site as dream of sugar revival dies. And don't miss our ploughing 2023 news and photos.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Did you know that all household electronic and lighting items are free to recycle? When you recycle e-waste, you're not just preventing it going to landfill, you're also giving it new life, recovering valuable resources that can be used again, and stopping harmful substances from entering our environment. Recycle for free with WE at your local authority recycling centre or participating electrical retailer. Visit weIreland.ie for details. A message from We Ireland, the government-approved scheme for electrical and battery recycling.
My spelling always stopped me from doing things. But thanks to my class with Donegal Education and Training Board, I've learned how the computer can help. It was hard to take the first step, but now there is no holding me back.
Literacy changes lives. Make a change in your life today by contacting Donegal ETB and find a class that suits you.
If you'd like to volunteer to help someone make that change, call in to your local Donegal Education and Training Board Further Education and Training Centre.
Supported by Adult Literacy for Life, the Government of Ireland and the European Union.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
OK, it's just turning 11 o'clock. Time to get a news update. Good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A man has been arrested in connection with a claim of responsibility made after the attempted murder of DCI John Codwell. The senior PSNI detective was shot multiple times outside a leisure centre in Omagh in February in a dissident Republican attack. The 23-year-old was arrested in Derry today under the Terrorism Act and has been taken to Musgrave Serious Crime Suite for questioning. Justice Minister Helen McEntee has branded aggressive protests outside the Dáil yesterday as disgraceful. She says what happened has no place in our democracy and she has spoken to the Garda Commissioner. 13 people were arrested and security at government buildings is to be reviewed. Meanwhile, the Public Expenditure Minister has defended the government's decision to send 4 ministers to the United States for international events. There has been some criticism that the Taoiseach, Taoiseach, Green Party leader and Health Minister are out of the country at the same time. The Dáil resumed this week in their absence. A Donegal deputy says the local government bill is a missed opportunity to give local authorities the overhaul and review they urgently need. Deputy Thomas Pringle says the legislation should have been the chance to foster true local empowerment, not just a symbolic gesture. It's proposed a pedestrian footbridge be erected adjacent to Castlefin Bridge in a bid to alleviate serious safety concerns. There's fear someone could be seriously injured walking on the bridge due to the speed at which cars are travelling on the route. Donegal County Council has confirmed that High Road will be temporarily blocked for 5 nights next week to allow for essential roadworks. The works will take place from Monday to Friday between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. Diversions will be in place via New Line Road and Circular Road. And it's been suggested that the former Reynolds Music Shop close to the local Link bus stop in Letterkenny could be acquired for use as a temporary bus station pending the development of the town's transport hub off the Pierce Road. Councillor Jerry McMonigal says at the very least a new bus shelter with seating needs to be provided. The National Transport Authority has indicated it is prepared to provide funding for a new shelter and council officials are looking at the options. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
OK, Michaela, thank you.
Get
Get more spice in your life with the McSpicy at, wow, this is actually really spicy, McDonald's. 100% chicken breast and a spicy, crispy coating with crunchy lettuce, all served in a sesame-topped bun. So what are you waiting for? Let's get spicy. Served after 11 a.m.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or you can give us a call on 074 91 25,000. We're joined by two guests in studio now. Andrew McNulty, Programme Manager at Waterside Theatre. Good morning to you.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
And also Owen McGilla-Bridger, board member and trustee with Amar Clan Guidor. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Amar Clan Guidor, yeah.
Okay, so not far
well
off it. Okay, listen, you know yourself, everything happens really quickly here.
Yeah.
1 minute I'm saying hello, next minute I've got two gentlemen sitting in front of me, but that's good. Okay, talk to us about what's coming up. We'll start with you, Andrew.
Okay, thanks for having us on the show this morning, Greg. It's great to be here, and it's great to get the opportunity to talk to you about our project that is coming up now. We have a play, and they are actually going to go on stage now in about 25 minutes for the first show down in Arkland Gweedore. And this has come about as a partnership between Waterside Theatre, where I work in Derry, and Arkland Gweedore, where Owen looks after the place and is a trustee down there. We kind of together came up with an idea for a cross-border project funded by the International Fund for Ireland. And we worked with very closely Stephen Barrett, who's the Communities and Partnership Programme Manager for Donegal. And together, collaboratively, and with Paul McCool and Ian Barr as well on our side, we kind of threw out ideas and we came up with 4 distinct parts to a year-long project. And this play, Observe the Sons of Ulster, Marching Towards the Somme by Frank McGuinness, is one element of that. And thankfully we're here. We're extremely tired. We left the theatre last night very late in Gweedore. I'm Balfema myself, but I work in Derry. So it's been an absolute treat to work on this, to work with Owen and the team in Arkland, and to discover this play. And we have a brilliant director, David Grant. He's senior lecturer for drama in Queen's, and he has been guiding the whole process all the way through. And our production manager, Fiona Harkin, as well, has also kept the rest of us in check, making sure that we're doing our job well and that everything is on track for it. So we're at the beginning of a tour with it, and we're very excited about it, but very tired, but very, very excited.
Talk to me a little bit about the production, Owen.
The production, it's actually, I'm very happy with the production.
That's always a good start.
There's a great team. Andrew already nearly mentioned. I was going to say you're going to leave me nothing to say. We've gathered a great team, and it's in this project and the production. There's a learning process. There are 4 professional actors and 4 amateur actors, and they paired up. And the amateur actor is learning off the professional actor. David also incorporated that in the production. The acting, I think, is amazing. The lighting, the whole aspect of it. And
because I presume that is a challenge in the scene that you're trying to set, within the confines that you're trying to set it.
Yeah.
And for people to feel immersed in it and actually believe that what they're viewing, that you know they get that. I mean, it's a challenge that would be way beyond me. But anyway,
the characters are very distinct, and they have to be. It was Frank McGuinness. His writing is fantastic. He create these characters like. Just for example, I don't want to ruin the show on anybody, but there'll be two guys from Belfast walking, and you know they're from Belfast. The boys from Kilrain, the mixtures of the status as well within the Orange Order and within the Protestantism, and it shows why they went out for different reasons to fight in the First World War. And it's just a lovely piece of writing. And then David has taken it, and I respect him. I've worked with David before. I think poor fella had to struggle with me as a director, but I really respect him and admire him as a director. He has a very keen eye, And you mentioned Fiona Harkin. She's one of the best, as far as I'm concerned, the best in the Northwest anyway, as a stage manager. The lighting is... You don't notice the lighting. And that's, from a lighting point of view...
You've hit the jackpot.
You've hit the jackpot. Yeah. It blends in well with the atmosphere.
So the 4 elements of this, Andrew. Observe the sons of Ulster marching towards the Somme. This is the play element of it, the performance side of it. The other 3 elements are not performance sides of it. So talk us a little through and where are we in this year, by the way? Sorry,
Okay.
You talked about this being a year-long project.
Yep. So the play is actually the second element in it.
Okay, so the first was the overseas trip.
Was the overseas trip, and that was excellent in that it brought the 2 groups of individuals. Predominantly where I work is in a unionist community in Derry, and it was to bring that community along with a Gaeltacht community together. It was about the experience of going to the battlefields in Flanders, to going to the Somme, going to Ypres, and together we, I suppose, explored the themes that come straight through the play, as I say.
And what is the what are we trying to achieve here in joining these communities in this environment? What is the hope that to come from that?
At the core of this is peace building. At the core of it, it's identity sharing and it's respect for cultural diversity.
So is it about sharing history?
Yes, it is that shared
understanding history.
It's about understanding each other's history, because I would even find in my own work, my history and the history that I was taught in my Donegal school is not the same as the history that my CEO has, for example. So it's about coming together.
Makes for good staff parties.
It really does. I know it is. It's really, really good. And it's funny. It's that perspective and it's creating that understanding as well. And in knowing why we think the way that we think. And that is at the core of the conflict resolution. It's at the core of peace building. And it brings us on then very nicely onto our next part, which is capacity building for the arts in the Northwest.
Okay, can we come on to that? Because I want to make sure that I make sure that people can mark their card. So before we talk about the dates, maybe you want to take this one, Owen, or you can pass it if you wish. The story, what part of history are we told through this this production?
Well, it's during the time. It's set in the First World War in 1916, and at that time, we obviously know the Somme. That's where it's set in 1916, when 1st July, when they go over the top, and just prior to that, and they know they're going to die, most of them, but they talk. There's a unity there because they're all fighting for their beliefs and their culture and their identity, and that is that they are Orangemen, and that's the play itself. You were chatting about the 2 communities. It's what I learned a lot about their culture, and they're learning about our culture. Like, there's even a line in the play about the Germans using Irish language, and they speak Irish. It's there's humour, there's misunderstandings, and the play tells us all of this, and it helps with us learning from each other, and we're not bad people, and neither are they. Like, we grew up. For example, I grew up because of the Irish history. 1916 happened. Most of the people that fought from Ireland fought for different reasons. Some were fighting for to keep Ulster Unionist and British, whereas other people went out from the Irish side thinking they were going to get home rule. And these people were forgotten about because of what had happened in the Irish history at that period, and the afterwards in 1921-22. There was a man who was born in Gweedore, who'd moved to Letterkenny, fought in from 1914 to 1918, returned home, said nothing, Nobody knew that he had won the Victoria Cross until after his death.
Mm-hmm.
We should have been celebrating those people as well, because they were fighting for Ireland, for what they believed was the right cause, the right reason.
Yeah.
And in preparation for our trip away, we worked with the International School for Peace Studies as well on the overseas trip, to make everybody aware of just exactly what Owen was talking about. There was a lot of propaganda around then too as well, in that Save the Women of Belgium was one of the taglines, Save Catholic Belgium was another one. So there was a lot of propaganda. There were economic reasons why people left Ireland to fight in the
It's
First
really
World War.
quite interesting in that causes and fears are still utilised to this very day to try and motivate people. Nothing has really changed. People think things are new, but they're not at all. So there's a matinee which is taking place in the next 20 odd minutes. So you'd have to be quick to get there at this point if there was any availability. So we might focus on later performances. So there's a further performance tonight in Gweedore, if that's correct.
Yep.
Then on Grianon Theatre on September 24th and 25th. Are they matinees?
So
what is the motivation, by the way, for the matinee performances?
So what was important for us is to reach out into schools and community groups too as well.
That makes sense.
And that's why we had it. And they're at a reduced rate also. So it's breaking down the barrier to participation too as well, which falls in line with the International Fund for Ireland and assisting us and funding us too as well for this.
It's also in the curriculum in the North. It's also in the curriculum, and as far as I know.
Does it contradict it, I wonder?
I know. So it creates that cornerstone for a lot of debate, and that's the reason for that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's on Grianon Theatre, both matinees, 24th and 25th. Am I correct?
24th is an evening show.
Okay,
so
sorry to confuse it. It's just the way it's written in front of me.
I know, I think I had sent it through, that's Greg, okay. So I take it.
No. The Millennium Thought Forum, Derry, London Derry, then September 27th, a matinee and an evening performance. So certainly, as it relates to on Grianon Theatre, get onto their box office. You'll see when the shows are and secure tickets there. The same with the Millennium Forum. And in relation to this evening's performance in Gweedore, is there availability for it still, I wonder?
We do. Owen's looking after that.
Yeah.
And
okay. there are
that's
still
something to do for a Thursday evening.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes when we talk about things that are historic, it kind of be a turn off for people a little bit. But this is from both of your testimonies here. This is an entertaining and thought-provoking show. Sounds like even if you didn't have an interest in history.
Yeah, the acting is superb. It
tells a life story. It's just in this context.
Yeah. And it's about the thing that the director wanted from day one was to paint a picture of people. Give the human side behind those individuals that were stuck in the trenches. You may or you may not agree with their reason for being there, but by the end of it, you will be on side with these men. And there's 9 actors in total, but 8 characters in it. So it's an interesting device that Frank McGuinness has used in this, where he has recollection coming back in it too as well. So it's it has that kind of imaginative approach, but it also has that humanistic approach, and it makes you think.
Yeah.
Really
and the 4 pro actors, 4 amateur actors, what was the logic there?
The logic there was what we wanted to do, and it's that capacity building too as well. Our idea was that a lot of young actors in the Northwest can't get the opportunity to step into a professional environment.
And there's a mentoring role there as well.
And it's a mentoring role.
Okay.
It's a full professional production wrapped round these trainee actors to take them through and build capacity for the arts in the Northwest.
Okay, so observe the Sons of Ulster marching towards the Somme. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Yes.
That's what it's called, okay. And it is on tonight in Gweedore. It's in Letterkenny, September 24th, 25th. And it's in Derry in the Millennium Forum on September 27th. How do people go along tonight? I'm not sure if you have an online box office and stuff.
Just if they land at the door, they'll get the tickets.
Roll up. Okay, brilliant.
Roll up, yeah.
Right, so then the other elements to this, vocational skills training in theatre and arts management, is that part of this? Is that separate? And then the creative writing workshops through numerous languages, English, Irish, Ulster Scots, Derry, East Donegal, Gweedore, they're all there.
They're all there. So they're the different elements, and we're very excited about the vocational training element too as well, because that's taking young people from Derry, from Gweedore, and the classes in Gweedore as well will be through the language of Irish, which we feel is massively important. We're going to have a bilingual approach in Derry too as well. And we're linking in with Culturelyn in Derry too as well to deliver those. And there'll be qualifications that individuals can pick up in their spare time if they have an interest in the arts, and it might just ignite some interest for someone along the way.
Yeah, I'd love if, from an elective perspective, that we could sort of replicate what's happening on the ground, because with frequency I have conversations about initiatives like this, and it would just be great if this work was being supported and endorsed all the way to the very top, because I think we'd move much quicker to a better place for us all. Right, so anything else you want to add, Owen?
Well, it was just when we were in Belgium as part of it, it was the 25th anniversary of the signing of the peace initiative, a peace agreement. So we had took part in the commemoration over there, and also we conference. And I learned a lot. I had to come back and rethink my thinking, if that makes sense, my beliefs, and it was amazing. Just the whole trip was so informative and so amazing, and I learned so much, and I want to be able to share that with others. And
yeah, and anything you want to add, which is actually really quite impactful, that Owen. You know what I mean? It's remarkable. Go on ahead.
And just to continue on what Owen was saying there, Greg, I mean, it is about the human being. It's about that change. It's about that evolving, and it's about...
like, do you know what kind of, like, you know, if you're ever kidnapped, I know this sounds strange, right, but if you're ever kidnapped, you try and, to the person that's kidnapped you, or in the media, if they try and appeal to the kidnapper, they try to humanise the victim. To give them because then it might moderate their behaviour, because they see that person not as a thing but as a human being, and it's proven psychologically effectively to work. Is this a little bit like that, in that we're not just talking about words or what we've been told, we are seeing, even if we disagree with people or we have differences, we are seeing them as a fellow human, as a person who's at the very least views perhaps deserve respect.
That absolutely gets to the core of it, Greg. Frank McGuinness.
You see, I told you I was going somewhere.
It absolutely does. He wrote Someone Who'll Watch Over Me, which is based on Brian Keenan as well. So it's exactly what you're talking about. It's bringing that human being to the fore. And there are things in this that will shock you. You'll be going, whoa. But it gets you to question your own thinking around it. And each of the characters goes through a complete, total and utter 180 journey.
Yeah, and with the case in point with Owen, he's went through that experience in different ways. Okay, so observe the Sons of Ulster marching towards the Somme. There's a show tonight in Gweedore, and then there's shows on the September 24th and 25th in Greenon, and then there is a show then on the 27th in the Millennium Forum. And if anyone wants more information about the programme as a whole, Andrew, where would you signpost them to?
Yep, what I would say is go into Waterside Theatre's website or Art Glencadore's website, make contact directly with either theatre. We would be absolutely delighted to talk to anyone about this project, Owen, as I'm sure you would.
Yeah, well, I'll pass the book on to you.
Okay, that's me.
Vice versa. All right, Andrew McNulty, Owen McGillivray, thank you very much, both of you, for calling in.
Thank you so much.
And we appreciate and continued success with it all. And it's clear that it sounds like something that is you go through a bit of growth simply being involved in it, not necessarily consuming it. All right, thanks very much.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Join us for the Highland Radio Huli in the beautiful resort of Sulu from the 14th to the 21st of September 2024 for a week of non-stop country music and crack. Join me, David James, alongside some of the biggest names in country music. We've got the legendary Margot, the sensational John McNichol, the fabulous Robert Mazzell, Claudia Buckley, Olivia Douglas, Hugo Duncan, Jim Devine, Sean Cuddy and many more. Your package includes 7 nights of pure luxury at the 4-star Sol Costa Jurata Hotel with dinner and breakfast included. You'll have access to all the incredible shows, poolside entertainment, airport transfers and a delicious dinner every evening. All this for just €817 per person sharing. Don't miss out on this unforgettable experience. Book your spot today by contacting Country Music Tours on 074 9119 955 or email info@countrymusictours.ie. The Highland Radio Hooligan Saloon, 14th to the 21st of September. It's the country music extravaganza you won't want to miss. We'll see you there.
How about you? Are you team breakfast Pink Lady? Or feeling peckish Pink Lady? Bedtime Pink Lady? Or after work Pink Lady? Dessert Pink Lady? Or snack time Pink Lady? But why choose? With Pink Lady apples, it's always time for a treat. Meet Pink Lady apples at the ploughing from the 19th to the 21st of September and try to win a trip to France.
Donegal County Council has prepared the Draft County Donegal Development Plan 2024 to 2030, incorporating area plans for Buncrana, Ballybuffet, Stranraer and Bundoran. Public consultation runs from Friday 4th of August to Friday 13th of October 2023, with the draft plan now available for public inspection and comment up until the 13th of October 2023. For more information and to have your say, visit donegaldevplan.ie.
Are you a self-assessed income taxpayer? Tuesday, October 31st, pay and file deadline is approaching fast. The quickest and easiest way to file your return and pay your tax is by using ROS, Revenue's online service. It also gives you until Wednesday, November 15th. Register for ROS today at revenue.ie. Don't miss the deadline. Pay and file on time.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time's 24 minutes past 11. Now, the council is being urged to buy a 40-acre town centre site in Milford. This for the provision of additional housing and a primary school, a new primary school. The calls come from Independent Councillor John O'Donnell, who's on the line with us now. Good morning, John. Talk to us about this site and what's its current status.
Morning, Greg. Yeah, the site's for sale with Robinson Estate Agents, and I just think that there's a window of an opportunity here for the council to acquire the site to, number one, deliver for much needed social housing in the area, but also for the delivery of a new site for an education campus, which will be needed further down the line in relation to the National School in Milford, and also further expansion to the Loretto Community School. So I think would be silly not to capture this opportunity to acquire this land at such such affordable price for the council.
What kind of feedback have you had from the council? I don't know what their status is or how active they are in sort of bidding for land on the open market.
Yeah, well, look, the feedback I got was that I suppose that in relation to land for social housing, they were going with a number of different mechanisms. One was an expression of interest that people could do. Number two was that they'd be checking to see what's available in local estate agents. And then the third one would be that they might identify a site and then approach the landowner to see can they acquire it. So I suppose for transparency, it's very transparent that the site's on the open market. It's within the proximity of the town centre, and it's in our remittance at the minute to visit it's up for public consultation at the minute in relation to the settlement and town boundary framework on all towns and villages in the county. So I think for the council now is a time for us to capture it and acquire this land at a good affordable price.
What is how time sensitive is this, do you think? Because you know yourself, there's various arms of the council and one has to talk to the other about whether it'd be suitable for this, that and the other, and God knows how long that might take. Is there an urgency here, or maybe, I don't know if you're familiar with the landowner, are they prepared to sort of wait and work with the council on a potential transaction?
No, well, I haven't had no negotiation with the landowner at all because it's on the open market. I did call a estate agent about it, and it's the closing date for the offers is tomorrow, Friday. But I have spoke to the council about it. They've told us on Tuesday that they have made inquiries about the particular site. I'm hoping that's. I don't think they'd be misleading us, and I'm hoping it's true. Because the guide price of the land, 750,000 for 40 acres in Milford. When you weigh things up, we bought 8 acres in Letterkenny for 4 million, which is 500,000 an acre. You know,
This is
so
less
when you
than
weigh
20
things
grand
up,
an acre.
we're getting serious value for money here. We're getting, you know, we're getting this less than 20,000 an acre, as you say, Greg. Plus, we have an opportunity to get our money back in profit if we sell some lands to the Board of Education for the school campus that's going to be needed. Like, the schools are growing, and our population's growing, so it'd be silly of us not to capture this opportunity as a local authority, because then the answer they did give me as well, they said that the housing need in Mulford, you know, it wasn't massive. But what I would say to you is there's a massive barony in Mulford when you take in Cranford, Carrigart, you have Kerrykeel, you have Rathmullen, you have Ramelton, you have Kilmacrennan. Them's all feeding villages that people are on the housing list that would be more than happy to take up a house in Mulford if we can get the land of that size at the right money, you know.
Okay, well, shall we see? They haven't ruled it out, I think, by the answer they've given. They've sort of said they're looking at lots of things, which doesn't necessarily include or preclude this. We'll see how it progresses. Thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks,
Greg. Take care,
Thanks.
Councillor John O'Donnell there. Just to let you know, there's a coffee morning in St Mary's Hall, Kincastle. It's running until 2 p.m. It's in aid of Donegal Hospice, so get along to that if you can. My political views are right-wing violent protests achieve nothing, only at the ballot box. You heard them. Yesterday was a bunch of very frustrated people who were wrong what they did. If a right-wing stands in the next election, I'll have no hesitation to vote for them. It'll be interesting to see if people of that political more right-leaning, it's right-wing, left-wing. I don't think it helps anyone labelling people like that. But say people that have more right-leaning views, if I could put it like that, there, if they stand, how will they get on? I don't know. I really don't know. Greg. Everyone wearing high-vis. Yes, everybody should, for to save their own lives and to give all vehicle drivers a fair chance of seeing them. But the RSA need to get their act together while they are promoting their campaign Be Safe, Be Seen, because they don't have any. And it's not just me saying this. I was interviewed on another station on that very subject yesterday after your show, by the way. That's okay. And another caller said the exact same thing. The RSA don't have any high-vis, only for 4 to 6 year olds. Not good enough at this time of the year. That comes in from Mary. See, the guards were on to us and told us that there's some available where. Oh, I can't remember and I don't want to mislead you. But there was some available somewhere. Right, okay. We are going to be talking to the CEO of the Crime Victims Helpline after this short break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Looking for the best staycation ever? Well, you're in luck. We teamed up with Vulture Ireland and asked the public what their favourite staycation activities are in Sligo, and they didn't disappoint. Colin texts that there is such amazing history on display at Drumcliff Church. It's well worth a day out. Betty said she loved her day with the sheepdogs at Atlantic Sheepdogs. It was such a unique experience. And Owen texts to say the Sligo Folk Park was a wonderful experience and perfect for anyone interested in Irish history. Deirdre said her husband loved their day in Strandhill. He went surfing with Atlantic Surf School and used the amazing new facilities at the National Surf Centre. And she relaxed in the yoga seaweed baths, while Aoife said her kids loved the half-day sea safari with Enniscrone boat tours learning about the birds and wildlife. Plan your best vacation ever at discoverireland.ie and experience the feeling of a holiday all in one day.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonahur Road, Donegal Town.
Tickets! Get your tickets! Arsenal, Chelsea, Leeds, Liverpool, Manchester United, Spurs and more. Home games and all the goals scored. Don't be shy, it only takes a minute to win it.
It's Cadbury FC's biggest football ticket giveaway ever, plus thousands of other prizes to be won every game week. Just head to matchtheminute.cadburyfc.com to get your match minute. If a goal's scored in that minute, you win. Enter today. T's and C's apply.
There's a big weekend of country dancing at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny. Friday night, Jerry Guthrie and his band with Dominic and Barry Kerwin. Saturday night, Jim Devine and his band and Patrick Feeney and his band. Admission €20. Sunday afternoon, there's Jerry Guthrie and his band. Admission €15. Under 12s are free.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Now, the Crime Victims Helpline saw a 78% rise in hate crime calls last year, according to new figures. Michelle Pokaber, I believe it is, Chief Executive of the Crime Victims Helpline, joins us now. My apologies, Michelle, I didn't check your surname before I read it. I hope I didn't do a terrible job on it.
No, sure, you're grand. No, that's perfect. We'll accept pretty much anything with a last name like Pokaber.
Pokaber. No, I'll know for it again.
Pokaber.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, I mean, on the face of it, the headlines read a 78% increase in calls, and this is not in any way to diminish anyone's experience as to why they might call, but it is from a relatively low base. So what do the figures actually tell us, do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, the National Crime Victims Helpline provides information and support to all victims of crime in Ireland. So we are a very good kind of starting point for people who maybe aren't sure where to go. So I would say, in 2022, we saw a really large increase in a lot of our different crimes that seemed very alarming at first, that it was, gosh, that's an exponential growth from the previous year. But what we think is actually happening is just a greater awareness around particular crimes. So it was, hate crime, racist hate crime, LGBT hate crime. So we think, last year the conversation around the hate crime legislation really was making the news, and it was, seeping into kind of conversations that people were having and awareness about this as well. There was a very high profile, homicides, LGBT homicides that occurred. So, it was more, I think, around awareness, and people are having, being able to have the language to discuss maybe hate incidents, hate crimes that they're experiencing, and then hopefully knowing, that this is not okay, and there is places that you can turn to get support, to get information, that nobody has to suffer alone. And
what I think too is happening now,
safe.
Michelle, is that I'm not sure there is a hardening of views in relation to matters concerning, gender, sexuality, race, ethnicity, whatever that might be. There seems to be people now are more prepared to vocalise them, if you know what I mean. I don't think there's a great change in attitudes, but I think we're seeing the curtain pulled back a little bit now, where people feel empowered. That's a terrible way of describing it, but I hope you understand what I mean, to actually offend people, to say what they feel, to use social media in that regard. You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like it doesn't matter if there's damage to someone, because it's such an important issue. I need to say this. Do you get where I'm coming from? It's just that's the atmosphere change I've seen in this country in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that wasn't true. And I would say that, my expertise is around the individuals that are impacted by these crimes.
Understood.
The Crime Victims Helpline, we take each person, provide them with, again, the empathy, non-judgmental support. We can answer questions about the criminal justice system, and then tell them about the other specialized services for victims of, the variety of hate crimes. So you would hate to think that sentiment is growing, and you would hate to think that it was been there all along. What we do here is that in the past few years, there's been a lot of trauma for the country as a whole, in terms of, we came from the COVID lockdowns straight into a housing crisis, into inflation, and there's a lot of suffering. And I think that can be expressed in a lot of different ways. And people can, express themselves in a lot of different ways, and some of them are quite harmful and quite harmful to other people in the community. So, we do hope, again, moving forward, that we're not seeing an increase in this type of crime or these types of incidents, but that we do hope that people continue to reach out if they have been impacted.
Unfortunately, it's kind of an increase in those areas is demonstrable if social media, for an example, is a reflection of society. Michelle, why might someone contact the Crime Victims Helpline rather than the local Garda station, for an example? Because I know Pulse has been updated to recognise a lot of the crimes that people might contact you about. Is it because they don't necessarily know that how they'll be treated or how it might progress? Like, why would someone contact the Crime Victims Helpline before the guards, or do they do it at the same time, or what pattern do you see there?
Yeah, so the Crime Victims Helpline is an independent charity. People can contact us anonymously. They can speak to us in confidence. And what we see is that people come to us in a real variety of places in the journey in the criminal justice system. So some people have not told anyone. So they will ring us, and we will be the first people that they talk to about maybe a crime that has happened to them. Maybe it's something, an abuse that happened to them in childhood, and they're now at a place as an adult where they want to talk about it, and they want to see, maybe, is this something that I can report still? And is it something I want to, report still? And then we would also hear from people who have already made that report to the guards. They want to know what's going to happen next. Maybe they're a little bit unhappy with the response they got. They kind of want to know what else they can do. And then all the way through the criminal justice system to say the offender has been caught, they've been convicted, and there's been sentencing, and maybe someone's very unhappy with the sentence that the person got, and they want to know, is there anything that they can do? So there's a really wide variety, but as an organization, our volunteers and staff who take the calls and support our service users, we are not here to tell people what to do. Mm-hmm. We can explore options, and we can help people know what to expect, depending on what choice they make. But again, we're non-judgmental. We don't tell people what to do. So it really is.
I mean, you can see at the moment, there's a massive push in terms of advertising to make people aware of the crime of non-consensual sharing of intimate images. And it's in English and Irish. I'd expect an increase in that area to be reflected in your figures next year. That's probably the kind of way this works. The more awareness is, the more people come forward to the police or choose to go to the Crime Victims Helpline.
Absolutely. Now, we've seen an absolute explosion of people contacting us about non-consensual sharing of intimate photos. So last year there was a 275% increase in calls relating to that. And we've seen that trend continue into 2023. And what we're seeing is two separate things. We're seeing sextortion, which is where intimate content is shared online with someone that you don't particularly know well. And they immediately turn around and say, look, give me money or give me gift vouchers, or else I'm going to share this with your workplace or your entire social media. And then we also see, people who have exchanged intimate content in the relationship. And then once the relationship ends, as a means of punishing the other person, it's weaponized. Is a really good way to say it. So, both of those things are not okay. We get calls all the time about both of those, and they're crimes, and there's support available.
Okay, so if people want to contact the Crime Victims Helpline, Michelle, how do they do so?
So we can be contacted on free-to-call number 116006, which is the EU-wide number for support for victims of crime. You go to any EU country, dial 116006. You'll be connected to the victim support services in that country. And people can also go to our website, crimevictimshelpline.ie. They can send us a message. They can send us a text. They can web chat with us. We want people to be able to contact us in whichever way they feel most comfortable.
Okay, Michelle Poquet, but thank you very much for your time today. I do appreciate it. 08660 25,000. The phone line's hot today. Good morning. You say the people who support the immigrants aren't heard of. Of course they are heard. What they want is happening. Are the immigrants not flooding our country? 39 different nationalities in a Galway school. Mohammed, the number one boy's name in Galway. So tell me whose voice isn't being heard. Well, it's not the number one name in Galway, by the way, because facts do matter. It's the number one boy's name in Galway City, in a maternity hospital there, where a small fraction of babies in Galway are born. Galway County, it's not. It's your Aoifes and your Jacks and stuff like that there. But there's one maternity hospital based in Galway City that does report that. So you are correct if you're just talking about that one hospital in the city. St Mary's National School Ardra is also a major concern. A tragedy or accident waiting to happen. There's no footpath on the side of the road where the school is located. Young National School children leave the school and cross a major road to a tiny small footpath. A lot of speeding vehicles passing on one side of the road, as the other side of the road is fully occupied with parked vehicles that are collecting children. Right, okay. I will go on to our next item, but I'll tell you, I'll take a very, very quick break. Please, if you've texted in, it's a busy show, you know that we will get to them, if not today, and I'm continuing to get through them. Certainly, we will return to them tomorrow, but I just want you to know that no texts have been ignored. We're just, it's just so busy.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Transform your home with a visit to McGinley's Furniture Letterkenny, located at the Portlink Business Park just off the Port Road. You'll find a huge selection of top quality suites, beds and mattresses, also slide robes and custom-made dining and occasional furniture, with prices to suit every budget. See the great choice for yourself at our showroom, McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny. Click mcginleysfurniture.com.
Join us for the Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny used car sales event, taking place Wednesday 20th to Friday 22nd of September. We've got the best deals in town on pre-owned vehicles. Call in to us today at Canal Road, Letterkenny to view our full range available. We've got Tiguans, Golfs, Polos, Passats and even the pre-owned fully electric ID range. Discover our amazing offers and finance rates available. Book a test drive today with our team on 074 9122 333 or visit connellys.ie for more information.
Did you know Cool Kids Sligo have the biggest range of baby equipment in the Northwest with 25 years of baby expertise? Cool Kids Sligo take deposits on your baby bundle. Visit us in store at Cool Kids Sligo or shop online at babyaccessories.ie for free nationwide delivery. Make Cool Kids Sligo your #1 destination for all things baby.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be talking to the Chief Commercial Officer with Precision Sports Technology, Sean McVeigh, about securing an investment of $100,000 from 3 US-based businessmen at the Alpha Innovation event in Rathmull. I'll also be speaking to one of those investors, John T. Fries, whose father was born and raised in Kilmacrennan. And it's that time of the year again when we look ahead to the Acorns programme, now in its 9th year, with CEO of Accountant Online, Larissa Feely.
Business Matters in association with ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. Now is the time to realise your potential by enrolling on the part-time degree in business. Only 3 years with 1 evening per week on campus and another online. Open up your future by contacting the faculty office on 9186206 or visit lyit.ie today.
Get ready for a great night of live music with Rhythm and Sticks in the Abbey Ballroom at the Abbey Hotel, Donegal Town, this Saturday, 23rd September. Doors open at 9. Admission €10. Rhythm and Sticks, live at the Abbey Hotel this Saturday.
Now, history will be made later this week as the first ever joint committee meeting on social protection, community, rural development and the islands will take place on Ironmore Island. Deputy Dennis Nocton is chair of the Committee on Social Protection, Community and Rural Development and the Islands. Quite the mouthful, but that is the way things are nowadays. Deputy, thank you very much for joining us. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Right, okay. Pretty significant this, isn't it? To have an official Oireachtas business conducted on an offshore island?
Well, it's actually very significant in that it's the first time that official Oireachtas business in the terms of a live broadcast has taken place outside the city of Dublin, ever. And it's nice that where something happens for the first time, that it's happening on an offshore island rather than, in some of our other cities around the country, which is usually the case. But the members of the Joint Oireachtas Committee were determined that they want to visit as many of the offshore islands around the country during the term of this Dáil and Seanad. They want to know about the issues and challenges that people are facing on our offshore islands, and they want to see that reflected in a change in policy. And as part of that, we're using the opportunity to travel to a number of our islands, but also to exploit the fact that we now have decent broadband infrastructure being rolled out across the country, use that technology to have a live Oireachtas broadcast from Ironmore Island tomorrow, and people can look at it live on Oireachtas television on their television channels. And I believe, I'm told, that it's the very first live parliamentary hearing that has been broadcast from an offshore island anywhere in the world. So we're not just first in Ireland, we're first globally in relation to this.
Yeah, okay. Now, before we talk about the various strands that will be discussed, what do you see as the future or for the future of our populated islands?
Well, I think that they have a very positive future. Now, I know there are a number of challenges, and we'll talk about those in a few minutes, that we need to address. But I think now that we are bringing fibre optic cable to every community in Ireland, including our offshore islands, it doesn't make any difference whether you're on Arranmore Island or any of the Aran Islands or any other island, Tory for that matter, or whether you're working in Dublin city centre or in New York City. If your job involves sitting in front of a computer, you'll be able to do that anywhere. And we would hope that that will lead to, young families coming back to rural communities across the country, and in particular to our offshore islands, rejuvenating the population there rather than seeing population drain, which historically has been the case.
And I think too, islands want, from my conversations with islanders, they just don't want to be seen as tourism destinations, whereby there's a massive influx of people at one time of the year, and then for the rest of the year, it's a skeleton population almost. They want to see, more diversity in it. And it kind of sounds, people might say, well, you should be delighted you have the big tourism industry. From the people I speak to, they want to see more to it than just that.
Absolutely. And look, the tourism is the lifeblood of many of these islands during the summer months. And look, people have to make hay while the sun shines. But however, the sustainability of the islands requires having a sustainable population throughout the year, ensuring that the schools remain open, that the community services remain in place. And housing is probably the single biggest issue that our committee is hearing as being the biggest challenge on our offshore islands in terms of accessing existing housing that may be there that requires refurbishment, or giving the opportunity to young families who are either connected to the island or wish to rear their families on the island, being able to build a new home on those islands. So it is a specific issue that the committee will be focused on. It's one of our strands of our hearings tomorrow, is that issue of housing and maintaining a sustainable population on our offshore communities. And that's vitally important. Broadband provides the facility to make that happen, but unless people have homes that they can reside in, that isn't going to benefit them.
Yeah, and infrastructure and everything else that goes. That's an expectant of modern life. Also, to here locally, we've had controversies, particularly as it relates to Tory Island, where a helicopter was getting serviced, or there was a mix-up or what have you, and then there's big gaps in health provision on the islands. Now, obviously, we can look at different options. We'll always perhaps need someone on the island or visiting the island or whatever to see people in person. But there are different ways too that healthcare can be provided on islands. And I understand that'll be a topic for discussion tomorrow as well.
Yes, we have already visited Clare Island off the coast of Mayo, where we've been looking at a very innovative project involving the National University of Galway and the Clare Island community, looking at trialling new innovative technology that allows people within the island communities to attend outpatient appointments remotely rather than having to travel to Letterkenny or Galway for appointments, but also looking at providing more emergency care on our islands. And look, you will always need a trained medical practitioner insofar as is possible on our islands. But how do we try and support that? How do we try and assist the emergency services, particularly the Coast Guard, in providing services on our islands? And technology provides huge opportunities in terms of not just emergency services, but particularly in relation to chronic care, ongoing illnesses, where people may have not got the care and attention that they would have needed in the past. And the great thing about it is, if we can solve this problem in relation to our offshore island communities, these can be replicated in isolated communities in County Donegal, in my own county of Roscommon, and right across the country
and that's
as well.
logical. I mean, we're not suggesting the islanders are guinea pigs here, but I mean, if we can make something work, and I think that feeds too into Module 1, climate neutrality and biodiversity, whereby sometimes I think on the mainland it's like herding cats, whereas on an island situation, you can get pretty much the population into a room and look at what they can collectively do in terms of climate neutrality, biodiversity, and then it is measurable because of the scale of it. And again, who's to say that couldn't have positive consequences for the rest of the population?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I've been advocating in the Dáil is that, where communities go over and beyond what is required under law in terms of dealing with these issues in terms of climate neutrality and biodiversity, that there should be an actual cash payment back to those communities. And it is much easier to manage that in the island communities. One of the issues that I was directly involved with as Minister for Energy was involving our offshore island communities in an EU-wide project to make all of our offshore islands sustainable from an energy perspective, that they're completely independent and not reliant on electricity coming from the mainland. And hopefully in the future we'll be in a position to export electricity from the island communities onto the mainland as well, providing additional income and additional cash flow. And that's something that we will be looking at tomorrow as well, because it's about trying to make our island communities sustainable in terms of population, in terms of income generation, but also in terms of climate and our environment as well.
In relation to that, what did historically, one of the things that did historically sustain our islands, for an example, was fishing. I maybe fishing can fall into one of these modules. I don't see it sort of, I don't see it sort of expressly written down in front of me as the, pardon the pun here, but as a boat sailed in relation to that, when we're talking about island and island life, are we looking beyond the traditional industries that supported island life? Because there's a lot of bad feeling out there.
Absolutely, there is. Now, the policy in terms of the marine and fishing comes under the Department of Agriculture and the local minister, Charlie McConaughey. It sadly doesn't come under the remit of our committee. But I do know that there are a number of colleagues in Leinster House who are very animated in relation to that specific issue. But what we're trying to do is to look at new opportunities that are there in terms of innovation and technology that provides opportunities to provide sustainable housing, to provide, sustainable employment for people, and to ensure that we have long-term sustainable communities, which of course does involve the development of our marine industry as well.
All right, it's on Oireachtas TV tomorrow. It's a historic first ever joint committee meeting on social protection, community, rural development and the islands, any committee for that matter, taking place on an island globally. I don't know about that one. I might have to fact check that, Dennis. I think there could be, some government in some far-flung country. Maybe they're listening and might contest that. But sure, look at. Come here. Were you in the?
We'd love to hear from them if they want to contest it. But from my research, I think it is.
Were you in the Dáil yesterday?
Yes, I was in the Dáil yesterday.
What's your reaction to how events unfold there? It's dominating conversations today, as you know.
Yes, look, it is dominating the conversations to date, and there is a provision under our constitution where TDs and senators cannot be impeded going to or coming from the Dáil. Now, that was put in at a time when there was, civil war in this country and, a lot of animosity around the country at the time. But it was put in for a very specific purpose to ensure that people could get in and out of Leinster House. Neither TDs, senators or staff could do that yesterday. It's not good. It shouldn't happen. And it is imperative that we don't allow a handful of people who have a particular agenda, which is to undermine democracy in this country, to be given the physical tools to do that. And we would hope that we can address that, and hopefully that the courts will deal with the matters that are presently before them as well.
But it's important too, though, that people still maintain the right to protest
absolutely.
And express how they feel.
I would be someone who would be absolutely adamant that we should maintain the right to protest. That should never, ever be restricted. And it's about now putting measures in place that allow people that have legitimate business inside in Leinster House to come and go, while also facilitating very legitimate and peaceful protest that have historically taken place outside Leinster House. I was there when the pensioners were there. I was there in many of the protests down through the years, and they should be allowed to continue.
All right, thank you very much for your time. Good luck tomorrow. We appreciate it. Okay, that was Deputy Dennis Nocton there. And that is where we have to leave it on the programme today. Thank you to all of you who listened to the programme, got involved in the conversation, watched it, however you engaged. It's all greatly appreciated. We're back tomorrow with the Friday panel discussing some of the week's or days or whatever happens overnight. We're going to be across some of the big topics, of course. Please tune in for that. That's from 9 o'clock, and there's plenty more. There's plenty more besides. That's entertainment coming up after 11 as well. But for me, Greg Hughes, and Caroline Orr, who researched and produced the show, and Niamh Shields working flat out as well. Have a great Thursday. John Breslin's next.